Good evening, everyone. On behalf of ICAI, I warmly welcome you all to today's session on unveiling Europe's essence, the land of opportunities. So, Europe has always fascinated a lot of us. Some of us think it is history, or some of us may think it is because of football. The others think because of travel. But today, we see Europe in a very different line as a land of opportunities for chartered accountants. With its dynamic financial hubs, integrated markets, and evolving demand for expertise in areas like taxation, risk management, and ESG, Europe is not just a destination, but it is a global stage for our profession. They say opportunity knocks once, but in Europe, it knocks 27 different languages. And exactly that's what makes this continent so unique and full of promise for Indian professionals. We are privileged to have with us distinguished leaders who will share their experiences and insights on how CAs can strengthen their European presence, embrace new opportunities, and at the same time, make a lasting impact. Let me first take the opportunity to introduce you to CA Preeti Savla. Her distinguished career includes her role as a chairperson of the Women and Young Members Excellence Committee and Sustainability Reporting Standards Board, apart from being the Board of Discipline, Vice Chairman in Corporate Laws and Governance Committee. Internationally, she is a sole Indian representative on the Sustainability Standards Advisory Forum of the ISSB, IFRS Foundation, and has also chaired the SAFA Sustainability Board. She is a public interest director in NSC Clearing Limited, as an independent director and as the audit committee chair for leading companies such as Sun Pharma Laboratories Limited, IRB Infrastructure Developers Limited, and many more. Her governance experience is highly unparalleled. As a director in the Institute of Social Auditors of India and governing council member of Social Stock Exchange BSE, she contributes to social impact initiatives. She has delivered 500 lectures plus on various professional topics. She played a key role in conceptualizing social audit standards, launching ICAI Call Sahayata, and establishing and while launching the CA Women Excellence Award. She is a mentor to women professionals restarting their careers. She has received multiple awards, including those from parliamentarians. I welcome CA Preeti Savla.
Thank you very much for such a large introduction, Shikha, and hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, very respected president of CAPA, C. Praful Chaje, who also is a past president of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Sir, a very warm welcome to you and dear all the participants. Very, very good evening, all ladies and gentlemen. So it's my privilege to extend a very warm welcome to all of you on this fourth day of ICAI Global Week 2025. This is an initiative that has truly established itself a global confluence of knowledge, opportunities, and professional excellence. Over the past 3 days, we have embarked a remarkable journey across various continents, beginning with Asia, where we explored the dynamic prospects in both the developed and emerging economies, then moving to Africa, where narratives of resilience and growth highlighted new avenues of professional engagement, and then going to Americas, where we examine how operational excellence and innovation can guide emerging country. And and now each of these discussions has happened dependent on the understanding of how accountants and financial professionals can play a very transformative role in shaping the global business ecosystem. Now, after going to all these countries, today we dwell into Europe, a continent where the heritage and modalities intersect, and where Indian chartered accountants have already established a credible presence. Europe has long been cradle of governance, reputation, and structured financial systems. And today it also leads in sustainability and technology and cross border collaborations. The session on strengthening our established European presence, strategies for intensify impact will address how we can build upon our existing footprint in the mature European markets and translate presence into the deeper influence. The theme of navigating global opportunities is not merely about identifying new markets, but it's about preparing ourselves to address complexities, embrace diversity, and respond with agility in an ever changing world. It calls for foresight to anticipate emerging trends, competence to align with the evolving international regulations and practices, and resilience to adopt amidst the technological, economic, and geopolitical shifts. Most importantly, the courage to lead with integrity, inclusiveness, and sustainability. This theme, therefore, is not just an inspirational, it serves as a roadmap for our profession to remain globally relevant, future ready, and a trusted force for driving growth and positive transformation across borders. These days' deliberations will also bring light how Institute ICI, through its global collaborations, MOUs, inspirational international presence, continues to support its members in assessing new frontiers and strengthening the India's position in global accounting profession. It reinforces our shared vision of enabling chartered accountants to act as ambassadors of trust, competence, and integrity worldwide. With that, let us look forward to enriching evening dialogue and knowledge sharing as we collectively unveil the Europe's essence and embrace the opportunities it offers. Friends, again, as a Indian chartered accountants or president are also not only being president in India ICAI, but also having a leading position as a president. We have with us President Kappa, who is a Praful Chajed, sir, who is also the past president of ICAI, as I said earlier, having the vast exposure and experience into this accountancy as well as the sustainability and playing a leading role at various like State Bank of India and various positions and sharing his exposure. So, friends, the sustainability, as I said, is now not merely a very fancy word, but it is the requirement of the day. And as we see the MOU which has been signed at Geneva in 2023, COP26, where each country has said कि when that country specific, like India will become carbon neutral by 2070, and that is how all the regulatory requirements have come, and how that sustainability has been important, which is being driven by the European countries, and hence huge importance and opportunities in sustainability coming through. Similarly, without technology we can't survive, and that is we were discussing even in our CRET meeting of board of studies, how we can have the best course curriculum, how we can modify to have best of the students with the having a good technology insights. So this technology not only for the students, for us as a members, how we can thrive with the technology, how we can adopt, and actually with that how we can service the level not only in India but at a world level we can serve best, so that a lot of we can have best of the work over here and lot of, and as the government also wants that we should have 10 large Indian firms, and how we can fulfill that dream of our prime minister also. and we can grow big. So all these opportunities and sessions are like that, to have our firm bigger, right? And having cross border practice can develop. With these words, I once again welcome all of you, and I will let us have a best of the session, knowledge enriching session for the day. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you, Praful Bhai, for being here to address all the entire gathering. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Your opening remarks have shown us the way that we can, await all the speakers, including sir, so that we know what opportunities await for all young chartered accountants. With this, I am honored to have CA Praful Chachar, past president of ICAI and president of CAPA. He, being a visionary leader, has been very instrumental in expanding ICAI's global presence and strengthening professional recognition worldwide. Sir is a fellow and a practicing member of ICAI as well as a member of CPA Australia. He holds an LLB general degree and has obtained ICAI's certificate on forensic accounting and fraud detection, as well as a certificate on business responsibility and sustainability report. He has served as the president of ICI from 2019 to 2020 and as the chairman of WIRC of ICI 2007-8. He is also a chairman of the Multi Commodity Exchange Clearing Corporation Limited, an independent director and a chair of the audit committee of Oberoi Realty Limited, All Agro Terminals Limited, the president of CAPA, Confederation of Asia and Pacific Accountants, Malaysia 2023-25. He has held key positions in several national and international organizations, including Independent Director of SBI, Member IRDA, Independent Director of SBI Mutual Fund Trustee Company, Independent Director of GIC Housing Finance Limited. He has also served as a Director of ICAI Accounting Research Foundation, Director of Indian Institute of Insolvency Professionals of ICAI, and many more committees that he has chaired within ICAI. With this vast experience, I welcome Sir to give his keynote address.
Thank you so much. Very good evening. It's always pleasure to get connected to all our dear members, and also now this is the global webinar kind of thing. So now we also get participants from across the other professional bodies as well. So I see on the screen Madam Rosemary joining us. Welcome, Madam. And in the beginning, Priti Savla also spoke, a dear friend, Central Council member, very hardworking personality. I had seen her entire career right from the WIRC, where she was the chairperson, and I had the privilege of being the president that year. Since ever since then, she has been continuously 24 by 7 working hard for the profession. And not only she, but ensuring that entire council led by the president and everybody is for the cause of the profession, and especially for the members and the students. Friends, as you know, in India, ours is a very, very large professional body. We got more than 430,000 members and about 900,000 young students. So definitely when these young students, who are about 900,000, they have a lot of dreams in their eyes. And definitely with the changing time, with the globalization, with the technology available, with the AI coming in, opportunities are not restricted to one jurisdiction, but it is now across the various jurisdictions. As Preeti rightly mentioned, even the prime minister is now having the dream of having big Indian firms and audit and consulting kind of thing. So it is very high time that our fellow chartered accountant friends should get equipped themselves with what is happening globally. And therefore, I once again congratulate Priti and the entire team of council members for organizing such very informative webinars, which is talking about what is the global scenario. And every day they are covering one by one and very apt theme, navigating global opportunities. So here when we learn ourselves about what is happening, and especially in the presence of the overseas speakers, they can also share with us what is the scenario in their country respectively, so that we can also equip ourselves. And now profession is also like a mutually beneficial profession, and therefore, as friends, as you are aware, even the ICI has, having the large number of MRAs, mutual recognition agreements, and MOUs with various professional bodies, including Chartered Accountants Ireland, Institute of England and Wales, kind of thing. So it is not, because the knowledge is one thing, unless you share with each other, nobody will be perfect. And I think this is the absolutely very good initiative, so that we can learn what is happening overseas and what we needs to do. Today we are going to talk about, we are going to hear about, the about unveiling Europe's essence, land of opportunities. And this is very, very critical thing. Now everybody knows what is happening, on the geopolitical scenario, and therefore I think ties with the European nations, England and other European nations, with the India is becoming very good in terms of trade and all those things. And if trade will increase, the opportunities, the workflow for the professionals will definitely increase. And as today we are really fortunate that our own member, Mr. Piyush Goyal, is the cabinet minister for commerce and industry. And lot of every day we see, the government under the directions of the prime minister and the minister for trade and commerce, they are working for various mutually trade agreements. Recently, India has also inked the agreement with the United Nations. I heard something happened with the European nations as well. So there is a continuous dialogue at the government level to increase the trade and commerce. And naturally, when trade and commerce will increase, the opportunities will fall back to the professional. So it is absolutely right time for us to get ourselves equipped. So similarly, as it is mentioned, that I am also the president of the CAPA, which is the Confederation of Asia Pacific Accountants. In our board meetings and otherwise also, we really talk about what is the global scenario of the profession, where professions are moving, what kind of opportunities that are coming. And as we said in the beginning, now with the technology, AI, I think it is a good time that if we understand on all those things. As I said in the beginning, ICI has also done MRAs and MOUs, not only to that extent, because, in the beginning it is said in Europe there are about 27 languages which are spoken, and it is not the only English language. So even to help our own members to have that European language fever, ICI is also conducting, with the support of, international language institutions, the foreign language courses, so that if you are not moving to the very English speaking zone, because we are comfortable talking in English, but we may not be good in German and Spanish, kind of thing. But ICI has taken that initiatives also. So my compliments to team ICI for that. Friends, I see on the screen our both the distinguished speakers have joined. It is not good for me to take their time, because we all are here to understand from them, because unless they share their wisdom in proper time, will not get the opportunity. I once again thank the entire team of the council members. Today Priti Savla is here, so thank you, Priti, and your team for inviting me here. And thanks to ICI, because again, it is said, I am the past president of the institute. So whenever there is a call from the ICI, it is always pleasure moment to talk to our all distinguished friends. When I was president, I had been to Scotland and England and so many European countries in terms of promoting our MRAs and MOUs. So pleasure once again. Thank you so much. My special, as a past president and the president of CAPA, my special thanks to all our distinguished speakers who have agreed to share. Of course, their detailed biodata will be read by the coordinators, etc. But on my personal note, I wish them a very this thing. And now, madam, we are having in India very soon the festive season, like festival of lights. Diwali is coming. So to all my dear friends also, I wish them in advance very good festive seasons, because now every month we will be having something till up till 1st of January, when we all will celebrate the new year together. Thanks once again for the inviting me here. Over to the MOC. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. You were really very nice. We heard of your experience, and we are so blessed to have you with us. Yes, you rightly said that knowledge increases when it is shared. In fact, you also talked about the fact that a lot of CAs have this problem that when they want to move abroad or have their European presence, there are different language courses that they can undertake. So one of our audience has asked how to cater the fact that European citizens without language knowledge, it is very difficult to have your presence over there. And I would like the audience who has raised this question to know that yes, there are ICAI initiatives that Sir talked about, that we have different language courses that you can take up before you think of expanding to those places, so that you are well versed with what is going to come there and it becomes easier for you. With that, I also welcome our first speaker for the day, Ms. Rosemary Keogh. She is a CEO of the Chartered Accountants Ireland. I would take the opportunity to introduce her. She's our first speaker for the day.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, can I take the opportunity to give you a brief profile? I will
Of
just
course.
take a
Please
moment of
do.
yours.
Yeah.
Rosemary Keogh is the Chief Executive Officer of Chartered Accountants Ireland. Rosemary joined the Chartered Accountants Ireland in June 2025 from the Houses of ICAI, that is the Irish Parliament, where she held the role of Assistant Secretary General, Corporate and Member Services. Prior to that, she was the CEO of Irish Wheelchair Association. Rosemary is also a member of boards of Chartered Accountants worldwide and the Global Accounting Alliance. She has a significant experience in working in businesses in a range of industries at Irish and European level. She has also served 5 years as a member of the board and chair of Finance, Audit, Risk and Governance Subcommittee of the Charities Regulator, and further 5 years as a chairperson of National Disability Services Association. I welcome you, ma'am. We will be absolutely grateful to have your words with us.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And I'm really delighted to have the opportunity to meet and speak with colleagues in Chartered Accountants in India. As you mentioned at the outset, I'm with Chartered Accountants Ireland only since June of this year. So I'm still feeling quite new in my role. And this is actually my first international engagement. So I'm really privileged that you've asked me to speak today. I was really struck, I suppose, by Prafula's comments, and particularly around international trade and the changes and the volatility that we've seen recently, particularly in the context of the US. So the US has always been a very significant trade partner for Ireland. I think it makes up about, I think it's 13 to 14% of our exports. And we've been very, very heavily reliant on that market for a really, really long time. But obviously, as with other countries, including India, the recent approach to tariffs has kind of thrown everything into a degree of upheaval. And I attended a national leadership conference yesterday in Dublin, in Ireland, that was attended by business leaders across many sectors. And one of the key themes that came out of that day is how do the rest of us internationally, all of these wonderful global partnerships and relationships that we have, how do we work better together into the future so that we're maybe less reliant on one particular international partner for trade, and that actually we can build maybe a bigger free trade space amongst us around the world. So I think it's really, really timely that that's something that's on everybody's radar, I guess, at the moment. In line with the theme today around strengthening established European presence, strategies for intensifying impact, my plan today, I suppose, is to share some insights on Chartered Accountants Ireland Strategy 2027, which was launched earlier this year, and talk a little bit about some of our recent innovations and the international impacts of some of the initiatives that we've taken. So if you bear with me, I will get stuck into all of that. I'll probably take a few sips of my tea as we go along. So I suppose, first of all, a little bit of context. Chartered Accountants Ireland is the most important organisation for business in Ireland. We have 40,000 members, which I know might seem small compared to Chartered Accountants India, where I think you've got 100 million or something like that. But we're a country with a population north and south of actually less than 6 million. So it's actually a significantly large cohort, I think, of professionals in the country. 10% of our members are working globally in countries outside of Europe, including India, Australia, US, and touching across many other countries across the world. We're seeing more accountants working across wider ranges of industry than we ever have before. And our members are at the centre of and are central to business life in Ireland. We enable organisations of all sizes and types to adapt and to thrive, and for the economy and society to prosper. And that whole aspect of the importance of chartered accountants in serving the public interest has been core to our existence since we were founded back in, I think it was 1888. So that's something that has run right through our history. We're at a very, very exciting time in our history. Just last year, actually just over 12 months ago, we completed a successful amalgamation with CPA in Ireland, and that has led us to becoming that largest professional body in the country. We've launched a new strategy and a new brand and welcomed a new leadership team. So we have a huge amount of change going on in the organisation. And for me personally, it's very exciting, and I'm really delighted to have joined the Institute at this pivotal and crucial time, not only in the organisation's evolution, but in that context of the changing and volatile global world that we all are operating in. That global landscape has formed a really significant and important backdrop to our strategy 2027. As we all know, and we've spoken a little about it already, organizations today are facing unprecedented disruption. Artificial intelligence, digital transformation, cyber threats, geopolitical volatility, the rapid spread of misinformation are all shaping and informing how businesses operate into the future. Adding into this, global economic shocks, political instability, and a growing erosion of public trust in institutions have all informed our strategy for the next few years. We're all living and working in a more volatile and a more complex world, and trusted business leadership is what is and what will enable organizations of all sizes to adapt and to thrive, and for our economies and our societies to prosper into the future. Chartered accountants are recognised as providing this trusted business leadership and in serving the public interest. And as the professional body in our country, Chartered Accountants Ireland is providing exceptional education. We're providing support and inspiration to our current and our future members and everybody who engages with our profession. We exist to develop and support a profession whose role is to provide that trusted business leadership across every sector and every industry in our economy. We're helping our members to help their organisations to grow and to thrive and to create value. We take huge pride in everything that we deliver for our membership. And we recognise in this world that is changing at significant pace, there is a really important need to adapt and to be agile if we're going to continue to support the profession and our members to thrive into the future. Our strategy 2027 sets out how we're going to shape the profession in the years to come and is based very much on extensive stakeholder consultation around what the future might hold to 2027 and beyond that. Our members and our future members will be core to this future and will be core to our success. So whether that's the students that are coming in to join us in the next few weeks, our newly qualified chartered accountants who we will be conferring also in the next few weeks, those working in audit, business leaders, and members of the global chartered accountant family who have and who will continue to join us through those mutual recognition arrangements and agreements that were spoken about earlier. So there's huge relevance in our strategy, and it's all situated within that context. As we said, the world we operate in is changing, and our strategy sets out what this means and how we in Chartered Accountants Ireland are responding to those changes and to those challenges. So what are we planning to do? So we've set ourselves a few key goals. Over the next few years, we intend to increase our membership by 4,000. That's 10% on our existing numbers. We'll increase our student intake by 6,000 new students. We hope to grow our income by up to €2 million. And probably most importantly, in the context of today's discussion, we want to increase our international footprint engagement by 8%. So there's a huge amount of work for us to do in that space. So what are we going to do to enable our success in achieving those goals? Firstly, we will continually support our membership in developing their careers and strengthening their professional credibility. We will ensure that our new brand, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on, is fully recognised not only in Ireland, but also with our global partners and with global business. We will have used our 2024 amalgamation with our colleagues in CPA to provide increased value to all of our members, and we will continue to attract and educate the next generation of chartered accountants. We will also play a leading role in shaping the future of the profession, not only in Ireland, but also globally. Developing any strategy is not without challenge. And I suppose core to the development of our strategy was doing some horizon scanning and really identifying and documenting what those challenges are and what the challenges into the future are going to be. And we have to always be cognizant of the challenges that exist in our strategic environment. So some of the things that we thought about and took into consideration when we were developing our strategy: the regulatory landscape, particularly in Europe within the profession, is now a far more complex environment than it would have been even a few years ago. And as a consequence of that, the cost of doing business is becoming more and more expensive. The compliance services that the profession has traditionally offered are increasingly being delivered through technology platforms, and that can lower the premium that we can then, or our clients, I suppose, our member firms can charge for services, and drive a degree of fragmentation potentially across the profession. Statutory non-financial reporting, again, particularly in the EU and very much driven by EU regulation, means that organisations of all sizes are now having to account far more broadly for their overall impact, not just financially, as well as demonstrating how they create value in society. We know that AI and machine learning are enabling the profession to provide a greater level of financial scrutiny. But with this is a requirement for new and different skills to apply these technologies ethically and effectively right across our regions. The impact of private equity in the profession is something that is being felt globally and raises questions around how the profession is structured now and also into the future. We don't know at this stage the long-term impact of private equity, but we will begin to see in the coming years what that really means for the profession. There are now far more career paths available to school leavers and to graduates. So that means we can no longer take it for granted that those school leavers and graduates will gravitate towards the profession in a way that perhaps they did in previous generations. So we need to compete harder for this next generation of talent and really demonstrate and showcase all of the opportunities that a chartered accountancy qualification and career can bring to that next generation. There's a significant speed of change across the profession, and that means it's no longer going to be good enough to front load all of our training and education at the start of our members' careers. Being a chartered accountant is increasingly about lifelong learning, and we need to pivot and adapt to be able to provide those lifelong learnings that will keep our members in those trusted business leadership positions. What it means to train and develop chartered accountants with the technical expertise and the professional judgment to deal with the new and ever-changing realities looks very different to not only a decade ago, but probably even as recently as 5 years ago. So in that context, we've identified a number of strategic priorities that will help us to deliver our strategic goals. So those priorities are educating. By that, I mean inspiring the next generation of finance professionals, leading, guiding our members through all of the change that we're living in today and that will probably continue apace for some time to come, and really delivering for our members and supporting their position as trusted business leaders. Those 3 strategic priorities are underpinned by 5 strategic work streams, and these work streams will enable us to develop our business plans and translate these ambitions into real and tangible action. These work streams were identified again through the extensive stakeholder research that validated them as key priorities for chartered accountants in Ireland and the next generation of students. So the work streams where we're going to put all of our efforts and energy over the next couple of years are attracting and educating the next generation, upholding that critical trust in the profession, providing relevant future-focused development and support for all of our members, both in Ireland and overseas, having a strong, effective voice that is listened to at all levels of society and government, both nationally and internationally, and all the while continuing to help our members navigate the extensive change that we're all living through at the moment. So in parallel with these strategic work streams that we've identified and that will form the backbone and do form the backbone of our 3-year strategy, we also need to continue to ensure that as a professional body, we are operating in a way that is at a very high level of being optimal. And the vehicle for us to do this is through our very extensive transformation program that resides as a strategic enabler within our Strategy 2027. The ambition for this transformation program is to evolve how we deliver for members, firms, and students over the life of our strategy. A key and significant element of our transformation program is the launch just a couple of months ago, actually, I think it was the week after I started in the Institute, of our new modern and contemporary brand, which I hope that you can all see in the backdrop behind me. This new brand proposition was developed after intensive immersion with both internal and external stakeholders and brand experts. And our new brand position allows us to positively embrace the future with a new purpose, vision, mission, and values. We're using the outputs from our brand project to attract the right capability into the organisation and ensuring that we are driving the right culture and values right across Chartered Accountants Ireland. We've developed a new and succinct set of values, combining the best of what came into the Institute from our colleagues of CPA and our own Institute's historic values. This has been introduced in 2025, and very simply, our new and hopefully simple and succinct values are accountability, excellence, openness, and being forward-looking. And all of this brings us onto our new North Star. So central to success of our Strategy 2027 is development of our new strategic direction, trusted business leadership. And if you can see the logo behind me, you see the formation of the star within that and the North Star that we're all working towards. Back again to this theme of, the more volatile and complex world we're all living in. I would hope and assume that everybody in the call has some sort of knowledge of the importance of trust as the new currency in which we operate and will be the unique selling point for chartered accountants into the future. Trusted business leadership is vital in these times of change. It creates a stable foundation for business to thrive and for economies and societies to prosper. We know that from the recent Edelman Global Trust Survey that chartered accountants are amongst the most highly trusted professionals for business right across the globe. Linking to our own original charter, chartered accountants actively serve the public interest. And Chartered Accountants Ireland, as Ireland's leading professional body, are the guardians and the stewards of the chartered accountant profession in Ireland. So that's what we're planning to do and have planned to do. And I want to talk a little bit now about progress we've made and some of the impacts that we've seen already in some of the key areas coming out of our strategy. So one of the key pieces for us over the last couple of years is around education. Chartered Accountants Ireland is the central resource for training and educating business leaders of the future in Ireland. The profession and our institute has evolved in step with that changing world. And our role is to ensure that our members remain trusted business leaders in business and in society. We know that Chartered Accountants Ireland is the leader in accountancy education on the island of Ireland. Education is our foundation. It's also a really big responsibility. We're not only educating accountants, but we are equipping the business leaders of the future with the technical knowledge, commercial insight, critical thinking, and ethical compass needed to survive. An example of this is the significant strides that we've already made in how we are teaching accountancy and how that educational is experienced by our students. And this ensures that we're meeting the needs of a new generation and the organisations that they serve. This has included reforming the senior school cycle accounting curriculum at second level. Chartered Accountants Ireland has lobbied very significantly in recent years with our Department of Education to modernise a curriculum that had not been reviewed in over 20 years. And we will see the impact of that for students going into their final 2 years of secondary school education from next year. We've reimagined the ACA qualification in Ireland, reshaping both the content and the way that it is delivered to reflect how modern businesses operate. We've already embedded digital first learning approaches in our education, ensuring that our students can engage flexibly and that technology is at the core and the heart of their development. And we've also developed a groundbreaking virtual reality simulation app to equip junior and trainee auditors with professional skepticism skills, mirroring the complexities of real world audit environments. The result of all of this is an ACA qualification in Ireland that produces graduates that are not only technically skilled accountants, but are also prepared and ready to make a real difference in complex and fast moving organisations. These graduates understand sustainability, they understand digital disruption, they're living through it, and they understand the global nature of business. Our progress has been reflected in our highest ever student intake in 2024, and that's the building block upon which we're planning and hoping to bring in 6,000 students over the 3-year cycle. This reflects the growing attractiveness of the profession and our success in positioning accountancy as a career of choice. Another area where we're already making impact is around that whole piece of trusted business leadership. We know that at times of uncertainty, society looks for leaders who can provide clarity, stability, and trust. Chartered Accountants Ireland positions its members as exactly that, the trusted business leaders who act with integrity and who can be relied on to navigate complexity. We know we've spoken a lot already about the unprecedented disruption in the world today and how there is a growing erosion of public trust in all institutions. Our solution is that Chartered Accountants Ireland has always placed public interest at the core of what we do. This means providing strong regulatory support to our members at all times. We work very hard and diligently to influence public policy and to ensure proportionate and effective regulation. We equip our members with the tools and the insights to take leadership positions in areas such as AI and sustainability, corporate governance, and where trust and good judgment are absolutely vital. Chartered accountants are consistently recognised as the most trusted professions in the world. This trust has been really hard won, and it is incumbent on all of us, I think, to reinforce our own institute's roles and our global relationships in ensuring that all of our members continue to stand at the forefront of ethical, responsible business leadership. The third area where we're also making an impact is in that area of amplified voice for our members. Following on from our amalgamation last year with CPA, we are now a bigger, single, stronger voice in Ireland for the profession at a time when scale and influence matter more than ever. This has allowed us to speak with even more authority on behalf of the profession, both in national and international settings, to strengthen our influence with policymakers, regulators, and industry leaders. And I know you have a speaker from Accountancy Europe coming on later on today, and that's a body that we input into very, very actively all the time. It's provided us with a wider range of services to support members across all sectors and at all career stages. And it's attracted new generations of students by showcasing a modern, united profession with global mobility and opportunity at its core. One of the key outcomes of our amalgamation with CPA is that our members now carry the dual ACA CPA designation. And for members moving into the US, this adds further weight because that CPA label is one that is recognized and understood in the US in a way that perhaps ACA may not be to the same extent. So by bringing our two institutes together, we've amplified our voice, we've extended our reach, and we've deepened our impact. Our commitment is to use this stronger platform to ensure our members' views continue to be heard, their interests are protected, and the professional body's standing continually enhanced. Before I finish up, I just want to talk very briefly about why perhaps members of chartered accountants in India might consider Ireland if they're looking at expanding their careers internationally. I know you've had a conversation as I was coming into the discussion about not all of the countries in the EU speak English, but Ireland does. So that's just something to remember. And I think in that context, we are a small country within Europe, but we certainly punch above our weight. The Economist's Democracy Index continues to place Ireland as the 8th most democratic country in the world, one of only a relatively small number of nations that are classified as full democracies. The average working week for professionals in Ireland is 36 to 39 hours, which compares really favourably within Europe. We are an English-speaking country and a committed and really active member of the European Union. Despite recent economic shocks, our economy is stable, competitive, secure, and 100% pro-business. We're one of the fastest growing economies in the Eurozone, and that has been continued to be the case for a number of years. And we have an A grade from all the major credit agencies around the world. And in the context of, in terms of people developing their careers, just a few key takeaways for why Ireland. So 8 of the top 10 financial services companies have a significant EU presence in Ireland. The top 5 global software companies have their EU head offices in Ireland. 14 of the top 15 medical technologies companies are also in Ireland on a very significant basis. All of this drives demand for professionals, especially accountants, of which Ireland has a critical shortage. So despite the economic certainty caused by a volatile world, Ireland remains open for business and the outlook for accountants is both positive and robust. And on that note, I thank you again very much for your time and for listening to me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. It was really a valuable insight and lot of experience as well as lot of knowledge that you gave us. It gave us a deeper perspective on what opportunities lie before us in Ireland. There are so many things that were very nice when you spoke. One being that we chartered accountants hold a position of public interest, which was something that I also agree with. Yes, be it any country, be it across the globe, we are a part of the profession that is accountable to the public. And that's the reason we must equip ourselves with such kind of vigor. Apart from this, you always said this is a kind of profession where there is continuous learning. And yes, that's a very valid reason why we met. Of course, your insights were really very helpful. We are looking at greater alliance between the two countries. We also are glad that you joined us today. Thank you so much once again for being with us.
And thank you so much
you
for
can
having
still
me.
be online if you wish to still continue and participate. We would love to have you so that we can have a small question answer round once the second speaker is over.
I'm very happy to do that. Thank you very much.
Surely. Thank you. Yes, it is time to introduce our second speaker for session 7, CA Arun Mehra. Welcome to the session, sir. Our speaker is a CEO of Samera, a leading global provider of accountancy, tax outsourcing, and financing solutions with operations across UK, USA, Canada, and India. With over 22 years of entrepreneurial experience, he has been instrumental in supporting business, healthcare practices, and accountancy firms worldwide in building efficient financial and outsourcing systems. Arun sir began his career with PwC and later served as a vice president at Bank of America before founding Samera in 2002. He is also the financial director of the Neem Tree Dental Group in London. His journey from starting at his father's dining table to building an international enterprise truly reflects his belief in seizing opportunities and inspiring others to achieve the best. A very warm welcome to you, sir. You can continue.
Thank you so much. Namaskar, everybody, and it's UK time here. It's 2:30, so I know it's in the evening there in India. So I'll try and give some energy and give some upbeat knowledge and experience to you. So let me give you a bit of history. So CA Shika Bhagat obviously shared that I started on my father's dining table many years ago, and I still do have that dining table in my house now, even though my father has gone on. But my story started back in 2002. I trained as firstly before that with PwC, as you highlighted, in London, and I did it. Well, before that, I did a degree in engineering. Okay, and I didn't really want to stay in engineering, so I thought I'm going to go into finance. So I moved into finance, trained with PwC, and qualified, stayed there for a couple of years, and then went into investment banking in London. And I realized investment banking wasn't for me. It wasn't the environment I wanted to work in. It wasn't the culture, the long hours. The only good thing about investment banking, I thought, was the money. Okay, but after a while, that attraction kind of diminished. So then I thought, well, I want to start my own business. And I just recently got married to my wife, Smitha, okay, who I'm still married to. And she's a dentist. Well, she was a dentist, she still is a dentist. And so I decided, I'm going to start up an accounting firm for dentists in the UK. And that's how I started. I started on my father's dining table, and after a few months, I got my first client, and it was quite difficult to get my first client. And I remember I'd worked at PwC, I'd worked in investment banking, all these big companies, and then there was me on my own, okay, with no team members, and no one knew who I was. Okay, I was just some accountant starting up a company called Samara. So I got my very first client, and a lady who ran a dental business here in London. And I remember going to her business, her premises, and she gave me this big box of papers. And I looked at it and I thought, oh my goodness, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Okay, I don't know. I've trained at PwC, I've worked in investment banking, but I've never dealt with a small business. I've never done a set of accounts. I don't know where to start. So I decided, well, I'm no good at this. Okay, I'm going to grow a business. I'm going to hire good people who can do this much better for me. So then I hired my first team member, Mehen, and he was a Sri Lankan man, okay, based here in London, and he joined me at my father's dining table. So together we figured out that first client. And then over the years, we started to add more clients, more business started to come in. And in my early days, this is around 2004, 2005, around 2006, that era, I started outsourcing to India. And in those days, there was no cloud accounting, there was no Xero, no Zoho, no anything like that, no QuickBooks Online. It was all very much desktop related technology. So I would have one person sitting in London, a junior person, who would collect all the information from clients, and they would scan all this information every day coming in from clients into a scanner, which was a very laborious, long job. And all that information would then be sent over to India overnight on a very poor internet connection, not very fast, okay? So all overnight. And then I'd worked with an accounting firm in India. They started doing the processing in QuickBooks for me. And once they'd done the work, they'd send the QuickBooks file back over the internet to me. And it would take hours just for this data to come across. Now contrast that today, when you have cloud accounting, everything is accessible everywhere. So over the years, I was one of the early adopters here in the UK of outsourcing. But what I found in those days, the technology was difficult, wasn't great, okay? Indian accountants didn't really know much about UK accounting, UK tax. So, and that in those days, maybe almost 20 years ago, perhaps there weren't so many CAs who were focused on this sector. But I thought, well, we're going to continue. So over the years we grew, and we started working with this company, but eventually we decided it wasn't working. It wasn't working for us. The costs were high. The firm we were working, their costs were rising. The quality was going downhill, and I thought, you know what, this isn't right. I'm going to bring everything back to the UK. I thought I was being very smart, okay, bringing everything back to the UK. So I closed all the operation in India, brought everything back to the UK, and literally that was just before COVID. Okay, COVID hit here in the UK, and it was the biggest disaster for me in my firm. There was no one to hire to do the work. I had a lot of work to do, but no team members. I couldn't hire anybody. No one wanted to work. So then I thought, oh my goodness. So that was a period of kind of learning. So after COVID in 2021, 2022, I made the decision, I'm going to have to go back to India. I'm going to have to do it myself. So this is what I did. I then set up my own operations in India. I didn't use a third-party company. I set up my own offshore team. So I set up a company in India, a PVT, and hired my first team member, my director in India. And that's how then I started to grow. And we opened up an office in Delhi, and now we have accountants all across India working for my firm, providing accounting, payroll, tax, all the compliance stuff, financial due diligence, valuation work. We do everything. And we're very much in the healthcare sector here in the UK. In addition, we then started to get friends and other accountancy firms here in the UK saying, Arun, well, you set up a successful operation in India. Can you help me? Can you help me set up? I said, well, of course I can. So then we now started helping people get good manpower, finding good accountants in India as well. And that's what part of our business is as well now. And then last year, we started, I get so many inquiries from Indian CAs all the time saying, Arun, can you help me get UK clients, or get Irish clients, or get US clients, that type of thing. And I thought, well, it's obviously a gap in the market. Many people in India need to understand how to get UK clients. And at the end of the day, you're thousands of miles in India and people are sitting here in the UK. How do I get clients? So last year we did one last year, one this year, we did 2 events in India, one in Delhi and one in Mumbai, which is all about how to go global, how to get that international client, how to earn their trust. So we talked about a whole range of marketing techniques, marketing ideas, of what to do and how to get that presence out there. Because I know in India, Indian CAs aren't really allowed to market, or have never been allowed to market in the internal market. But if you're going to go externally, if you're going to go global, you have to market, because you won't get any clients otherwise. So that's kind of where we got to. And then remember, I told you at the beginning I did a degree in engineering, okay, and I became an accountant. Well, I'm kind of going back into engineering now, because I recently, a few months ago, set up an office in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, and we've now got a whole engineering team developing AI tools in India, okay, for UK businesses. And this is what's that full circle. I've started engineering, went through finance and accounting, and now I'm coming back to engineering, perhaps at the tail end of my career. But one thing that's very evident to me is that, as Rosemary pointed out earlier, and others are very well aware, that there is such a talent pool in India, okay, that can help so many accountants, businesses across the globe, not just in Europe, but US, you name it. Yes, there are tariffs. Yes, there are problems that are emerging geopolitically. There are issues, but there are still, irrespective of those issues, there's a need for Indian CAs and Indian accountants. So where I see the market going is that more and more businesses, even if there are tariffs in place in the US, more and more businesses will still set up operations in India, because there's a wealth of young talent who are English speaking, as we've already highlighted, who are hardworking, who are educated, who are very technologically savvy. And as we know, there are I think 400,000 registered Indian CAs in India, plus another 800,000 who are students, plus many people who didn't do the CA route, who are doing ACCA or doing some other qualification, CPA Australia or CPA Canada or CPA USA, all doing it. So I think there's real opportunity for Indian CAs to maximize this. Now, the opportunity to travel and work in the UK or to work in the US may be reducing, okay, because of all the visa issues, maybe because of all the political upheaval that's happening globally. But that shouldn't stop you, okay? That should just kind of make you think, oh, how can I still get those clients? How can I still operate and serve clients globally while sitting in Ahmedabad, while sitting in Delhi, while sitting in Mumbai, or while sitting in Coimbatore? So I think the key thing is you've got to be able to earn trust of your customers or of your potential clients. And the way to earn trust is really to understand the problems that your clients have. So when I did my event earlier in the year, we had, it was this in Delhi and Mumbai, we've had, since then, we've had quite a few Indian CAs come to the UK, come to events in London, so Accountex or other events, just to understand what's happening, what are the issues that UK firms are facing. And like UK firms are facing, like many other countries, a lack of talent. Not many people, or reduced people, are going into accounting, they're going into tech, or they're doing something else. So that gives the opportunity for Indian CAs to kind of tap in to say, well, I'm going to be able to provide that service, okay? I might be sitting in India, but I can still provide it to a UK business sitting in the UK. So what we're doing is trying to bridge that gap between the two countries. Now, there is a massive cultural gap. Yes, people speak English. Yes, people understand the same language, but culturally there's a lot of differences, okay? And how, and one example would be how organizations are run, okay? UK organizations have an expectation of how organizations should be run, how staff are communicated, how staff are treated. All of these things matter, okay? One of the other really important things, and this is, I think, this is a skill set that I think Indian CAs need to do this if they're going to get that client base, as opposed to somewhere like South Africa, which are taking Indian business away, is the communication skills, those soft skills. That is so the most important thing. Technical skills will be taken away by AI. That is going, okay? You might be doing bookkeeping now, you might be doing tax returns. Honestly, that is all going, okay? I can see it, I'm developing tools that I can see it's just going, okay? What the client wants is a trusted advisor that communicates well, communicates clearly, who comes on time, who respects the mutual, there's mutual respect between people. This is what matters. And if I was advising any CA in India, that is the area to put your efforts into. Don't worry about the technical skills. You'll learn that. The Indian CA qualification, honestly, is the hardest qualification out there. Okay, harder than the UK, US. If you can do the Indian one, I know how hard these Indian qualifications are. If you can do that, you can do the other ones with your eyes shut. Okay, but the big gap is the communication skills. Okay, and that is what when I hire people in India, that's what I focus on. Can they communicate really well? Will they build relationships with my clients well? That is what Indian CAs need to be doing, okay? Not focusing on the technical skills. You'll pick those up very quickly and very easily. So it's an exciting time to be an Indian CA, but you've got to think differently. You've got to think, how am I going to market myself? How am I going to get my presence out there? What am I going to do? So my tips to those people are then, well, firstly, improve your communication. Go on communication skills training courses. Focus on that. Speak more English. Or if you're going to go into other language countries, obviously you need to learn the Germans, the French, the Spanish, the Italian, whatever it may be, okay? But even in many of those countries, they will speak English if you need to in the professional setting. But obviously it's easier if you understand the culture. Secondly, if you've got the communication skills covered, it's then really, how do I market myself? And that is not an easy thing, okay? But it's very doable. Now, I get literally daily emails from people from India saying, Arun, I'd like to outsource. Can you give me clients? It's spam. It's spam, okay? Do not do that. Do not waste your time. People get very irritated by it. People don't like it, and it gives a very, very, very bad name to Indian CAs, okay? It's very unprofessional, okay? What you need to do is educate your market. We have wonderful tools available to us. We have YouTube, we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, all these wonderful channels. You should be putting out content out there to educate your client base. And that's exactly how I do it. I get my clients all through various mediums of social media, newsletters, articles, blog posts, LinkedIn, YouTube, all that type of stuff. And that's exactly what Indian CAs need to do, okay? And I appreciate you're not marketeers, you're accountants, okay? But if you're going to become a global accountant, if you're going to support a client in the UK, Australia, USA, you need to market, and these are skills you need to learn. Okay, so there's really important thing that you need to do is really focus on those marketing skills, because if you can market yourself, people will understand you, you're educating them, and what that ultimately brings is trust. Okay, and they see your face, they trust you. Oh, it's him again, or it's her again. She knows what she's talking about. Oh, I like that. I'm going to reach out to them eventually. And that's how it works. Now, is it easy to do? No, it's not easy to do. Okay, will it take time to do? Absolutely, it will take time. Does it mean you have to learn new skill sets? Better communication, videos, photos, writing? Absolutely, you do. But honestly, for those who put the effort in, they will reap the rewards. Okay. Now, I've seen, when we did our course last year, I've seen clients who came on this course, they came back to India, or did stuff in India, and I see them very commonly now on LinkedIn doing videos, on YouTube, their channels, and I spoke to some of them, and they're getting clients from it. But it's that persistence, that consistency is really, really important. So I think to wrap up what I'm saying here is that it's an exciting time to be a CA, okay, if you're in India. I appreciate there's a lot of competition. I appreciate there's it's a difficult market to break into. But for those people who are willing to take that risk, the market is available. And I actually see what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe by 2030, 2035. I think India will be the financial headquarters for most organizations across the world, okay? Whether it's a medium-sized organization, even some small organizations, but definitely the larger companies. And we know that already, that's happening. In addition, we've seen I've talked about the whole offshoring side of things, but what we'll also see is the whole global capability center side of things emerging in India. We've already got 1,900 big GCCs of large corporates like the Mercedes-Benz or the HCL Healthcare, or large companies doing that. What we'll see are smaller organizations in the West, in the UK, US, setting up their own GCCs in India as well. And they will then need local partners. They will need local talent, local CAs to help them do that. And that's another opportunity out there as well. And again, we are helping people sitting here in the UK set up their own global capability centers in India, because that's where it's going. Okay, they cannot find the talent there. The cost is lower in India. The talent pool is huge in India. People speak great English. It's a recipe. It's there to be taken. Okay, and that's what Indian CAs really need to focus on, is the communication. Look at where the opportunities are. Focus on the GCCs. Get the marketing right. Get all those things right. You know what? You've got a very, very rosy career ahead of you, and it's an exciting career ahead of you if you do that. I won't bleat on anymore, okay? I'm sure there may be some questions. I will share some few links, if that's okay, to people on my LinkedIn and YouTube channel, so people can learn from those channels. I think that's always quite helpful for people to learn and see what we're doing. So I'll share my LinkedIn link to everybody on the chat. Hopefully that can get across to you. And so for instance, on LinkedIn, I post every day, okay? On my YouTube, we're adding videos now. We've got a YouTube channel which is growing now, and we talk about all the videos all the things that we do in our practice and how we get clients. Please join, please subscribe, please follow. We do all that type of stuff. And then also there is a course that we do. I will put a link to it here if that's okay. It's targeted at Indian CAs, how to get global clients, okay? And if you use a code of ICAI, you'll get a discount as well, okay? Any questions?
Sir, we do not have the questions. Those have not been received yet. Nevertheless, I request you to stay online in the session. It was truly very grateful of you to share your time and thoughtful insights. It has given us a lot to reflect upon. As far as me as a listener was concerned, I really loved a lot of insights as an entrepreneur. The first thing that I want young professionals to take care of is, sir very rightly pointed out that being a global entrepreneur, what is required is not technical skill. That will be in the future taken away maybe by AI. But what is important is to have good soft skills. What your customers look at is being a trusted advisor. So I urge young professionals to take up the skills enrichment course offered by ICAI. It is really very competitive. I myself have completed the course. Um, I'm truly grateful to the institute for having that course with us. It is really very nice, and yes, it equips us to be good global leaders so that yes, we can present ourselves with others. Thank you so much, sir. Once again, we have two questions that I have received for Rosemary ma'am. And the first question is, what support is available for Indian CAs in terms of setting up of offices or joining corporates in Ireland?
That is a very good question, and I certainly don't have all of the answers to it. I suppose in terms of the institute itself, I would suggest that anybody from CA India who's planning to move to Ireland or is interested in moving to Ireland, that they actually contact our institute through our contact form on the website, and that will be directed to the relevant people internally who might be
Correct.
able to give them pointers. For people who are looking specifically at, roles, most Irish companies, big and small, advertise on LinkedIn. So it's a really, really good place to start.
Correct.
We also have a recruitment placement service within the Institute. So again, looking at the page on the website for that will give people an indication of the types of roles that are
Available.
available across the country. Obviously, there's questions around visas and work permits. I'm not well placed to respond to that, but I think our Department of Foreign Affairs has good information available for anybody thinking about
Absolutely.
relocating to Ireland.
Apart from this, I have one more question.
Yeah.
How adding CPA Ireland helps in the above objective of setting up office or joining a corporate office, whether it also helps in the visa? I'm sure you already mentioned that you do not have much about it, but nevertheless, if you have any idea about CPA
Yeah,
Ireland.
no, absolutely. I suppose that the second part first, in terms of the visa, I think I mentioned when I was speaking, our government has identified accountancy as a profession where we have a shortage of talent. So it is, as far as I know, it's one of those professions that has a faster access route to work in Ireland than perhaps other professions that might not be on that critical shortage list. In terms of CPA Ireland, many of you will be aware that CPA had an existing MRA in place with Chartered Accountants India, and we're working towards having a similar arrangement now with the Institute. So I think the fact that that was already in place with CPA will make that next step a little bit easier. And I think and I'd be very optimistic that we will get that MRA in place in the next few months. Once that is in place, it will make the coming across so much easier for people.
Correct. I have one more question, and that is from my side. I want to know whether geopolitical scenarios do pose a challenge when we are thinking of, expanding abroad. I mean, you mentioned that yes, the geopolitical scenario is highly fluctuating, highly volatile, and that's one more reason that we must take care of those situations and move ahead. How does Ireland pose itself?
Yeah, so Ireland has been quite strong in this space, and I think key to that is our position within the EU. We're a very long-standing member of the EU. We contribute at the highest level. We have a number of EU commissioners who are former Irish politicians, and I think, if you look at where Ireland would have been in an EU context 15 years ago, coming out of the economic crash, and we were in that sort of group of countries that, were not popular in the EU, that has been completely turned around, and we're in a very, very stable place now within the EU. We're seen as a stable country. So far, we haven't really seen some of the local political turmoil, perhaps,
Right.
that we've seen in other countries. So our democracy has remained robust. We are seeing some more provocative voices. There is certainly, visibility of a degree of a far right movement, but it would be considerably less evolved, I think, than it is in a number of other EU countries. And I'm not really sure why that is. Part of it may be that we are an island nation, so we've
Correct.
always
You
been a
you tend to
country.
be more stable. Correct.
Yeah, we're more stable, and we're a country with a long history of emigration. So I think that's,
Right.
when it comes to people coming into the country, while there are some negative voices, I think the overall attitude to people coming to our country is very positive, and people see the benefits of that.
I agree. Absolutely. I mean, thank you so much. I'm really glad that you answered both the queries. I have two questions for Arun sir as well. The first question is, how does a place attract you as a financial advisor? So you gave us a lot of insight on how you have expanded your offices in a lot of different places. I'm sure you've met a lot of variety of clients across the globe. So I personally want to know, I'm sure my viewers also want to know what as a place, I mean, what do you see in a place that attracts you that, yes, this is the place where I see my future?
Oh, in terms of clients, where to get clients? Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Yes. Okay. So yeah, good question. So I think it's difficult to answer, but I think you got to look for a client, a market which is quite big, okay,
correct,
for you can tap into, okay. So the UK market or the US market are big markets, as an example, okay. There's a lot of change happening on the compliance side, taxes, the need for more tax returns, and the government is trying to collect more tax
correct,
here in the UK. So there's more things happening all the time. So the scope for work is big, okay. You also got to look at what the pressures are in those markets. So again, in the UK market and in the US market, there's a lot of people retiring, and therefore not being younger people aren't coming into the profession as much. So that gives you an opportunity to do that as well. So I think that's certainly there. I think also, obviously, language helps, okay, in both of those markets. But sometimes people try and spread themselves too thinly, then try and do too many things. So I would suggest you go into a particular market and go in quite deep. It might not be the UK. Ireland is a great example, okay? It's a relatively small market, but you could probably go in quite deep, okay? Um, and get to know people, and people will know what you're doing and understand it, and the word spreads accordingly, okay? Whereas the UK is larger, it's more difficult to manage in that respect. And again, the US is huge as well. I know we're not talking about the US today, but if you're going to go into the US market, you'd probably choose like one region, like one state or two states to do that, just to make it logistically easy. Otherwise, you can spend a lot of money burning money and not really getting many results. Okay. Um, but also, one of the reasons I mentioned all the marketing stuff earlier that I do online, I see where I get all the feedback from. Is it more from Canada, or is it from the
correct.
UK or USA? And that then gives me an understanding, okay, there's an interest in what I'm
Yes.
doing there, and then I'll put further efforts into that marketplace.
Good. I have one more question. You talked about the difference in culture at different places. I want to know what are cultural or professional mindset shifts that are necessary if we want to succeed in Europe.
Yeah, yeah. This could be a long answer here. Um, so I'm of Indian origin. Okay, I was born and brought up in the UK. My parents moved to the UK in 1960s, but I still have very strong ties to India. I visit India regularly. I have family there. I have cousins. I have uncles, chachas, mamas, everything all across India. Okay, and there's still different cultural differences. Okay, so for an example. Um, I'll give you some examples, okay? And I've seen this in my team as well, where it's very evident that the Indian team and how it's different. So in India, people always timekeeping isn't a strong point of Indians. I'll say that. So timekeeping. So when people say
Correct.
1 o'clock for a call, they mean 1 o'clock. They don't mean 1:10, 1:15, 1:30. They mean
Correct.
1 o'clock. A very important point, because culturally people will be very upset if you don't turn up on time, and you'll lose the business. Okay, so
Correct.
that's a very important
Correct.
an example. Another example would be in India, everyone always says Hanji, Hanji, Hanji. Yes, yes, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Okay, but even if they can't do this, okay, and you've got to be very careful. If you say you're going to do it, people expect it to be done on time, on the dates they said. And if you don't do that, you're letting people down, and you're not really managing expectations. Okay, so again, very culturally, very big point. Never say that, and always manage expectations better. That's a very, very kind of relevant point. I think again in India. Okay, so I have lots of people call me sir. Okay, hello Arun sir. Language like that does not exist in the UK. All right, I don't think it exists in Ireland either. Okay, I am Arun. Okay, this is Rosemary. This is Shika. Okay, I'm not. These things matter. Okay, and I remember having team members.
Yes.
This is many years ago from India saying, "Yes, sir, Arun, sir." Honestly, that isn't that hierarchy. That type of thing does not exist. It's much flatter. Okay, it's not this whole layer of hierarchy that exists in India and Indian organisations. That doesn't work well. And so I talk to all my team members. It's very important that I'm respected from the senior guys right down to the bottom person. So I'll spend time with the junior people. I'll spend time with the senior people. Nothing's beneath me. Okay, I will do everything. Okay, if I have to, if I have a company, if I have to cook the food, I'll cook the food. Or if I have to clean the toilets, I will do that. Okay, there's nothing, and that's a very big difference between the culture between India and the UK and the West. Is that in America or the UK, America, Canada, people get their hands dirty. They'll do everything. They're not shy to. Whereas I know in India it's very hierarchical. So that's the big cultural difference as well that people need to understand. That they have to be willing to get their hands dirty and be open and be amenable. That's how trust is ultimately built. Okay, so those are just some examples off the top of my head. Any other thoughts?
I absolutely agree. I mean, timing, then over promising something and not performing. This is a habit that a lot of Indians have. And yes,
Yeah,
to all my young professionals listening to, I'm very sure that you have to be.
Yeah, you have to be, and that's another example.
That you have to take care of these things when you think of moving global.
Correct. These are so important. Okay, if you don't do those, you'll struggle. Okay,
Correct.
and professionalism is seen as so much more. It's so high on the list. Okay, I don't really care if you're a good accountant or not, but I'll care how you communicate. I'll care how professional you are. I'll care if you turn up on time. I'll care if you're respectful to a junior team member, or I'll care if you're respectful to a female or someone like that. Respect plays a very important part. And if I see any inch of a disrespect, okay, I won't do business with those people. And I'm not like that. I'm not the only one. Most people are like that here. Okay, so
Yeah.
respecting your juniors, respecting your seniors, respecting everybody. Everyone's on a level, even level. Okay, and if you think you're too big to do anything, it won't work. Okay, it won't work.
Yes, sir. We have received one more questions.
Sure.
Accountant from UK is open to provide outsourcing assignments to fresh chartered accountant firms, which has newly started its outsourcing services as their first client. So, what can they look at?
Well, I hopefully they can see these links that I've sent to them. Okay, I don't know if they're available. For
Yes,
them.
there is a chat box.
Yeah,
I mean, we can see your link. Yes.
Yeah, so if they can go to those links, they'll see the information there, and they can do that. We don't provide clients per se to Indian outsourcing firms. They need to learn how to do it themselves. The only way you learn is by becoming an entrepreneur, doing the marketing, doing the LinkedIn posts, doing the YouTube videos. You have to do it yourself. Okay, I do it for my firm and my business, but I don't do it for others ultimately. Okay, but I think what they have to do is step out of their comfort zone. I think, and quite often I see people are very comfortable doing the accounting, but if you're going to grow in any business, not just in accounting or professional services, you actually have to step out of your comfort zone and start doing these things differently, and you'll learn from this and you'll get better and better as you go along. Okay.
Yes, I think that was really very helpful. Apart from this, does ACA from ICA EW help in getting clients in US, if you are aware?
In the US, okay?
Yes,
I wouldn't say it does, not really, because it's ACA or I'm an FCA, UK ICAW FC fellow,
correct.
and I have US clients, but um, I don't really know much about US tax. I have other people who do, and they're
Okay.
CPA qualified, US CPA qualified, okay? So I don't think it's useful. An ACA would be good for Europe, UK, Ireland, that type of thing potentially, Scotland, England, that type of thing, but not for the US. But if you've got it, great, you can use it. You're still lots of common skills in there, but the specifics on tax and things like that aren't.
As somebody who has so much global presence in terms of business, what is one piece of advice you wish to someone who wants to start their global journey?
My one piece of advice is just do it, okay? Don't hesitate. You'll look back in later on in life saying, wish I had done it, and have all these excuses. You might have excuses. It's easy to put an excuse. You might say, oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I've got children now, I've just got married. There's always an excuse not to do something. But if you're committed to it, you've got to just jump in with 2 feet, okay, and just actually make it happen, okay? And that's the only way you'll ever learn, by doing it yourself. Will you make mistakes? Of course you'll make mistakes. Will it be easy? No, it won't be easy. But you know what? Things that are easy, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Okay?
True.
So just jump in with your 2 feet, and you will look back, and maybe one day you might remember this webinar of me talking. So I remember he said just jump in and do it, and I think you should jump in and do it. There's tons of information online for you to learn, whether it's through YouTube or LinkedIn, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. We can share with so much information we can share, and the world is huge, and the opportunities are vast. Okay, I just have a very tiny bit of the pie, but the pie is massive. Okay,
Yes.
and you can take your share of the pie as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was really very insightful. You are very inspiring as a personality.
Thank you.
Rosemary, I have a question for you. It says, does CA Ireland conduct any workshops in India?
I don't know, but I will find out and come back to you. We do have members in India. I know we have a chapter in India, so I would imagine there are some kind of member events. I'm not sure if we've workshops, but I will find that out and come back to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
So for anyone who does need any further information, as I said, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, go to the YouTube channel, you'll learn information there. And I'm always posting videos of what's going on in India, what I'm doing with my team in India, and how we're also getting clients in the UK, USA, other places across the world. The opportunities are vast, okay? And I think one thing that I did hear at the beginning, that the untapped market are certainly non-English speaking countries, okay, across Europe, where places like Germany, Italy, France are real opportunities. But again, language is an issue, and that comes with time and trust. But you never know where it can take you. You never know where it can take you.
Absolutely. Language is something I think anybody eyeing for a global market should take care.
Sure.
With that, I thank both my speakers for session 7. I have my speaker for session 8 who have joined us. I welcome you both for the session. Let me take this opportunity to introduce my first speaker for
I will leave you now. So thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Our first speaker for session 8 is El Elko van den Eden is a CEO from Accountancy Europe. Welcome, sir. He brings over 35 years of experience in business and civil society organizations. Elko previously headed PwC's global ESG platform for tax, legal, people, and organization services, and has held several senior positions in publicly listed companies, including roles as head of treasury, risk management, and tax. Until December 2024, Elko served as the CEO of the Global Reporting Initiative, where he led the organization through groundbreaking changes in sustainability reporting. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
So my my chief of staff, Bronte, has showed now a short presentations I want to give. Bronte, can you please do it on presentation mode? Um, so when I joined Accountancy Europe back in January, we were basically in the middle of what we call the omnibus revitalization of the legislative environment around the European sustainability reporting standards. Next slide, please. But that's not all. We saw far more happening both in Europe and abroad, and they all have a tremendous impact on our profession. And we at Accountancy Europe, we at this moment we represent 49 member bodies, member institutions that are spread out over 34 countries, also non-EU countries like Switzerland, Turkey, UK. We have a couple of new joiners next year, by the way, and they are representing around 1.1 million accountants, auditors, and advisory service people, most of them in the field of tax. And as you can imagine, the intricacies of European policies, but also especially the extraterritorial effect of European legislation on international business and the international profession as such, but also, of course, the call it inbound effects of non-EU legislation on European business and European professionals is quite tremendous. So in the midst of everything that was happening and new administrations in the US and in Europe, we suddenly saw this new drive in Europe that basically has one big theme, and that is deburdening. Europe needs to become more attractive for investors, and therefore we need less rules, and it must be more attractive for business in doing business in Europe and for investors to invest in Europe. And whatever that brings in uncertainty in legislative processes, as we have seen so far, is more or less being deemed as acceptable collateral damage. Next slide, please. So what are the big strategic challenges we see for our profession here in Europe? And in my, well, weekly iterations and discussions with Lee White of IFAC, we see them more or less as global themes. And that is why we need to work together. That is why the public accounting organizations on a global scale, the region organizations, need to combine forces on some universal topics in order to make and be able to get stronger positions with regulators in order to make sure that we have prudent and proportionate legislation. So first of all, market demands. The market demands have increased. So the market is growing. We have seen in the last couple of years, not only the introduction, of course, of a digital transformation agenda and AI, but also sustainability reporting, anti-money laundering. We see a tremendous amount of work that was traditionally done by oversight authorities now being basically pushed over the fence towards business for assessment, for which they more often than not ask our profession for support. So there is a tremendous increase in demand for our services. But that comes, of course, at a price, because in order to be able to serve all our clients and remain trust and help building trust in capital markets, we need to have sufficient capacity of quality people. You cannot AI and automate everything, so we need good people. And what we see, there's a lot of stress when it comes to the market of hiring, especially auditors. We must beef up, gear up, and be better at attracting younger, talented people into the orbit of especially audit. The attractiveness issue is such that in some countries in Europe, it may very well be that the traditional auditor, that profession will be extinct in 3 to 5 years in some jurisdictions. On the other hand, digital transformation. Digital transformation is wonderful. The tedious manual work can be replaced. We can have better insights, better predictive analytics, better automated risk management assessments, and better monitoring. That is all on the upside. There is, however, there is, however, a bit of a downside, that is that not everybody can keep up with the pace of the change. We have smaller, medium practices that sometimes lack the investment power and the knowledge to drive this further. And we see supervising authority that are not as well trained and do not have those mature infrastructure to fully appreciate and understand the power of digital transformation and AI, thereby making in some cases mistakes or do not accept the outcomes of automated audit and control projects. So the knowledge gap between public and private sector when it comes to IT in many territories and countries is something that needs attention, and better to jointly support than to see that that rift is widening. The regulatory fragmentation is, of course, something that worries us all. Each and every country going its own way. We know in Europe that although we are a single market, there are so many barriers and legislation is so diverse, not only in the field of business, but especially in the field of tax. It is hampering business. It is not really adding value. And we all remember, of course, the recent discussion of the global baseline for sustainability reporting. That is something that has not gone further. Some believe that interoperability is the cure, but perhaps it is the disease. But that is something for a different seminar. And then last but not least, that is the business models. We all experience in Europe the entry of private equity into the audit and into the accountant market. What will that do with the ownership structures? Is there an effect on quality? What when certain exit scenarios start to materialize? On the other hand, we cannot ignore the fact that traditional lenders or traditional capital market participants have not been able to meet the needs, the financial needs of some players in our profession. So they are looking for alternative structures and alternative markets. By the way, something that we see a tremendous increase in alternative markets outside the regulated stock exchange and stock markets that we know. Next slide, please. So what is our contribution? How do we want to position ourselves? Because we build trust, and trust is necessary for functioning capital markets. And Europe really tries to drive now to a single European capital market. We are spread all over the place. And with the Savings and Investment Union, we try to unlock lazy savings capital. We have trillions of that in Europe that should be used and made for better use. So what we now start to push is making sure that we become part of creative, audacious solutions in order to support the European agenda in revitalizing capital markets and driving and creating more value. And we do so, of course, on behalf of the public interest. That is the core, what's important in our business. We support our member bodies and our network partners, and we try to enable policymakers and regulators in making fact-based decisions. Next slide, please. The profession's perception in Europe and in some other countries, being in this business now for a couple of years, is not always that positive. And a lot has to do with the tremendous knowledge gap that we see not only in the public domain on what the role of auditors and accountants is and how we contribute to socioeconomic cohesion, but also at the level of politician and regulatory decision makers. So what do I mean? I think I best can explain it with an example. So I was having a discussion with members of parliament on the difference between limited assurance and reasonable assurance. And we were not even there at compliance framework or fair presentation. And then after 5 minutes, I came to the conclusion that the people I had an interaction with didn't understand or know that there was a difference between an auditor and an accountant, and where the legal prerogatives lies for the audit section compared to accountants. Everybody is called an accountant, and if you are not fully aware at the very essential difference between the two, then trying to have discussions on more technical matters make no sense. So we really need to change that. It's not the fault of members of parliament or politician or decision makers. It's our fault that apparently we have not been that good at bringing a message across that is easy to understand and consume for the non-practitioners. What we also see, and that is perhaps a bit related, and that is what my colleague calls the airline analogy. What's going good, what's going right, doesn't get any attention. If there is a mistake, if there is a scandal, that gets all the attention. So we are very bad at celebrating and promoting success, and we are not always that good in managing things that go wrong. And we're still all human. Things will always go wrong. We try to mitigate risks as best as we can. With our integrity must be beyond any question, but things can go wrong. What we also see and hear back, we've done a huge project called Purpose 2030, which nearing its end. We did 155 interviews across industry and profession, is that we are being seen as quite modest, as quite silent. We try to avoid be present in the public debate because we're afraid that we're being seen as self-serving. And that perhaps should change. We should be proud of what we do well. We should remedy what we do wrong. But if we have an opinion that things can be improved or should be warned about, then we should speak up. That brings me to the next point, weak marketing, and especially when we are looking at attracting talent. It is quite we are perhaps quite used to the fact that people will automatically flock to our banners. As a former colleague of mine told me that she has a 13-year-old daughter, and here you see me in a gray suit with a tie, old 60+ years old man, or she can become an influencer. What will she choose? So not per se our direction. So we must change our tune and become more modern in our marketing. What I think is a really worrying part is the increased workload without recognition. More and more activities that usually and traditionally were performed by authorities are now or have to be done by business and thereby by us. Business in the past didn't need to pay for those services because they were done by authorities. Look at cooperative compliance, anti-money laundering, know your customer. Now we do them and we charge a fee for that. That is not always that well received, as you will appreciate. but that people not understand that we have to do more because regulators and legislators put a lot of work over the fence towards business, and thereby someone has to pay for it. That should be made clear also in the decision-making process on policy. Um, the public interest, what does that mean? To many people, it means a lot, and a common understanding on how to market and to phrase that. Because the value add we have as a profession in supporting businesses, small, medium enterprises, in training, in education, on contributing in value creation and trust in capital markets, it's tremendous. That is what public interest is. We should be proud of it, and we should make very clear to society that without us, you will not have a functioning capital market and functioning infrastructure. Last but not least, the technical narrative. We're subject matter experts. We love our job. We love discussions about differences between FIN 48 and IAS 12, and we can discuss it for hours and days. Unfortunately, decision makers are not that fond of our technical discussions. So the political environment has changed. It's less about content, it's more about emotion. So we need still to keep the technical acumen we have, but the narrative in the current political environment must be different. Next slide, please. Looking also at time. That's a fascinating topic. I can go for days about that. Look at the landscape that we work in. So yes, after PwC, I did a 3-year stint at GRI, Global Reporting Initiative. The sustainability landscape was always described as an alphabet soup. Well, I jumped from one soup into another soup because I think the world of representing bodies for accountants, auditors, and advisory on a global scale is even more fragmented than the one on sustainability standard setters. So we have the regional, international, and local, but we as regional and global with IFAC will start to work far more closely together, initiative called Better Together. So we will be meeting in Mexico in a month and a half for the first time live, and you will hear more from that. I'm very, very positive about that initiative. Next slide, please. So this is what we just said, the alphabet soup. Some of the issues we see internationally at all levels where there are challenges in execution, that is engaging with small medium practices. That market is changing very fast, also under influence of private equity, of course. The other one is that what we represent and most POAs is not only auditors, but also professionals in business. And also accountants and auditors in the public sector. Although thematic, it may be the same, but they need the problems they have need to be addressed differently because they are differently. So we will put a new strategy in place to deal with that one. There's a very strong appetite from learning, the drive towards more insight and benchmarking in what are they doing in that country, what are they doing in that region, both legal as well as operational, is something that gets a lot of attention and traction. Then the top challenges we have seen coming out of our Purpose 2030 project, that is digitalization and AI. What can it do? What can't it do? How can we provide practical advice for small medium practices in going through a digital transformation? Can we advise the public sector on how to deal with AI? How can we assess the quality of AI, that it's delivering what it should deliver? How can we make sure that digital and AI has a certain integrity, that predictive analytics are indeed providing what they should provide? The other one, attractiveness of the profession. Shortage in capacity throughout the world, especially in the field of audit. We must rethink our models in attracting young people. Governance, basically the entrance in the market of private equity and the ownership structures is something that will be looked at, as we have seen in Europe, that Commissioner Albuquerque is looking into aligned oversight of the profession in Europe. What will that mean? What is the problem we try to solve, and how are we going to solve it? The backlash in sustainability and sustainability reporting, it went very fast. In Europe, you can translate it. We went from 2,200 data points to 250, 300 data points in 6 months' time, what needed to be reported. Depending on the end result, the amount of reporters will decrease by 94% of the original intended reporters if the threshold will be 3,000. Leave it there. That did not really build trust in the legislative environment in Europe, as you may know, and there's a lot of political backlash on sustainability reporting at some. Private equity, the regional differences was more or less already mentioned. We expect to hear more. The speed of which local markets are changing is quite astonishing in the Netherlands, from what was it, 11% to 56% in 3 years' times. That's quite substantial. Some countries thought they would be immune for this, but we see it popping up everywhere. Next slide, please. And then I'm done within, I hope, the 20 minutes. So are there any questions?
Thank you, sir. I will surely post questions as I receive them. I request you to be online so that, yes, before we hear the next speaker, I'm sure I'll receive a lot of questions. Yes, you were, as far as we as listeners were concerned, it was very enlightening to hear you. Yes, we thank you for highlighting aspects that we often overlook. You gave us a lot of deep insights into what we can look for when thinking of Europe as a professional hub for chartered accountants. We request you to stay online till we have our next speaker. Also joining us today is CA Sumit Agarwal. He is an eminent speaker known for his contributions in a wide variety of market. I take the opportunity to introduce him. He is the founder of DNS Accountancy Group. And yes, he has a wide variety of experience in real estate and also looks at different strategic opportunities for landlords and property builders, for businesses. So he has a wide range of experience and we are so pleased to have him with us. Sir, you can begin. Sir, you are on mute. I request you to unmute yourself. We still cannot hear you, sir.
Can you hear me
Yes,
now?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm in train. So
Not an
please
issue,
forgive
sir.
me for the
Sure.
time. So today I'm going to speak something about my own experience of outsourcing in the UK. I know the target market. It wants to understand what they can do in UK around outsourcing back office support to the UK accountancy market. And are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will start with the quote from Chris Prosser. It says, opportunities don't happen, you create them. In the current market in UK, there is a significant shortage of talented accountants, experienced accountants. And Indian chartered accountants are very well placed to fill the gap. Now, how they will do? I mean, there's a big problem in the market right now. Shortage of talent, rising costs, And there's a new opportunity coming, which is making tax digital. And TLC do not have enough resources, accountants to fulfill the gap. And it's a great space for Indian accountants to fill the gap. Really network, prepare, plan, and connect with the target market to serve the industry. Now, I want to highlight the opportunity, which is UK accounting. It should be worth billions of pounds. And outsourcing is now acceptable standard. Earlier, it was a taboo, 5 years, 10 years down the line. But now it is very acceptable, and 90% accountancy industry is still outsourcing. But they're not outsourcing strategically, where you can come handy, educate them, and become strategic partners. And this is a very big opportunity for Indian chartered accountants in India. Now, what I've seen over the years from my own mistake, we see outsourcing only as bookkeeping and payroll. And we also see outsourcing as more transactional. We connect, we try and connect with few friends. We try and make few phone calls through LinkedIn. But we never go beyond this. Please consider outsourcing as a very strategic business. Like any other business, you build team, you train, you create a plan for the networking, marketing, and you have to think beyond bookkeeping and payroll and final accounts. The real shortage, the real opportunity lies in the high value service. For example, audit, due diligence, management accounts, reporting, finance director, virtual CFO, strategic advisory, R&D tax claims, and there are many more opportunities. These are the areas where there are real gaps. And this is something we as Indian chartered accountants can grab the market share. But for example, our own firm struggles to recruit the right candidate in UK to deliver these services. Now, please, my request to all Indian chartered accountants approaching UK market, do not sell on cost, sell on value. For example, just don't say that we can do the things cheaper. You have to build strategic partnerships and show how you can help accountancy practices grow their business by delivering on time. And this is the most fundamental shift of growth and the mindset that the team has to use. What I've noticed that most of the chartered accountants come without a plan. They don't have team, and they're looking for a chance and then learn, and then deliver. It has to be other way around. They need to be very well prepared and then approach the market. So remember, outsourcing is not transactional. You need to invest in people, system, training, process. And it will take 2 to 3 years to establish the business. And you need to have a dedicated team member to grow the business. Somebody who is there to grow the business of outsourcing full time. Now, it does need a lot of patience and persistence. Remember when you were growing your own practice, how hard you worked. It's similar, nothing different. But the difference is in rewards. Rewards can be a lot more higher. I'm going to give you some industry examples. QX has got 1,100 staff. Outbooks 400. Korean 200. Inaugural Global 90. And there are more than 50 back office solution outsourcing firms. They're taking care of all of this. I mean, market is huge, competition is huge. So you need to be very well prepared. Outbook started 7, 8 years ago. Now today they are more than 400 plus. Their turnover is more than 3-4 million, and they're making really good profit. QX is one of the largest. So if you start small, in next 10 years, you guys can be next QX or Outbooks. But remember what they did different. They invested in marketing, network. They had a dedicated leader to grow the business. And their mindset was that it is a strategic business of transaction. So I spoke about Outbooks recently. QX provides all different kind of services, hybrid models. So there are quite a few models in outsourcing, which is full-time executive or hourly rate or fixed cost rate. We can discuss that some other time. But QX is a huge model. It's a great example of a successful story of how to develop outsourcing business. The lesson I would say to Indian chartered accountants, don't focus on bookkeeping and payroll alone. There is too much competition there. Focus on high-end services. Delivery. And then approach the target, the accountants, the UK accountants, and you will see the difference in the results. So you have to spell trust and transformation. And of course, hybrid models will work. You need to have maybe one person onshore in UK to promote yourself. So my request is don't go mile wide, but has to be HD. So try and focus on 1 or 2 services, become really good in those areas. So focus on niche service, niche and relationships. And there's a significant shortage in UK. There's a great opportunity. And key takeaways, bookkeeping and payroll is foundation.
Technology, just that quality is improved.
Bread and butter.
Not before, it's just, yeah.
But not enough, not everything.
Badly, quite how quickly and how-
And there's significant competition in that area, so you'll struggle to make good business out of just bookkeeping and payroll. So focus on higher value services. Use industry leaders as proof. Try and connect them. Learn from their model. And remember, you need to have patience. It will need 2 to 3 years of building the business. Go deep, not wide. So success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is a courage to continue that counts. A quote by Winston Churchill. So I will end my presentation. More than happy to take all the questions. Chika,
Thank you, sir.
I finished that one.
It was really insightful to have you with us. Sorry, I was on mute, and that's the reason I couldn't figure out that I had to speak. Yes, as far as question answers are concerned, I will surely get back to you as I receive the questions. But apart from that, I would love to highlight a few things that you spoke and that really came to my interest. The first being, yes, we should always aim as Indian CAs to build strategic partnerships. So you very rightly pointed out how one should go about going global. So that was one area. I also like the speakers to note that sir's slides were really very detailed. He also pointed out areas that we can focus. So never ever think that there are only one or two areas that you can look at as an Indian CA. There are a lot of areas that he pointed out which we generally tend to overlook or maybe not consider, I must say. Apart from this, yes, I love the fact that he said always come with a plan and a team. He said a lot of CAs come here unprepared, without a plan or without a team, which I felt is a very right challenge and a very mm, incorrect move as well. So I feel that yes, if you really wish to expand your global horizons, be very thoughtful of what you will do when you go there. So you must have a concrete plan, a good research before you think of moving abroad or maybe setting up your business or firm abroad. So that was a very nice point. I also love the fact that you said be inch deep. So he said, yes, you have to be detailed oriented. So your slides were very, very generalized, yet they were very specific as far as CAs in India are concerned. Yes, I have few questions for you. It says, does internal audit experience from India help you get jobs in UK? Any courses that we can do to get jobs in England?
I must say that internal audit, yes, you can get the job, but this is not very popular area. UK has a lot of internal checks and control through technology. And statutory audit is a lot more popular than internal audit. In India, the market of internal audit is very big as compared to UK. Significantly in limelight. And UK, we have significant shortage of auditors. So I'm not aware of internal audit being significant demand. And mostly what happens, a lot of industry members are hiring their own internal audit team rather than they recruiting through accountancy practices. So as a chartered
Absolutely.
accountant myself, I have not been involved into internal audit in UK, whereas statutory audit is very high in demand.
Apart from this, there are questions. I mean, there are speakers who have asked, is remote working from India possible?
Yes, very much. And this is very exciting. We as a company use Outbooks and did hire a lot of ladies, Indian chartered accountants, and they work from home to manage the work-life balance. So
Yes,
this is
apart.
something
This is something we can look at. Apart from this, I have questions for, I think we do not have Rosemary with us. I have again few questions for Ireland. Apart from this, for UK, I have questions which say, what are priority areas which can be
I
looked
can answer all
at?
It has been raining since and obviously please do take extra care. Once again,
Sorry, I
shortly
have to
arriving
rush down.
into Watford Junction.
Yes,
I don't know whether you can hear me. I'll try and keep the laptop on, but my train station has come. So I have to get
surely,
down.
surely, not an issue, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elko, if you can answer for us, what are priority areas that chartered accountants can look at when entering UK?
Audit,
Okay,
financial and sustainability audit. And not only UK, I would say also in the European Union and continental Europe. There is a serious shortage of qualified auditors. We do not make it very easy because the licenses, although there is a law within the European Union that you are, when you have a license in a country, you are allowed to work in another country, but you then have to take an additional exam to be aligned with the local country. So if you're a Belgian CPA, you want to work in Germany, you have to do an additional German exam in German on German tax law. And that is
correct.
not very attractive, but that is typically a topic that we are working on to see how we can ease that up. So that is one. Secondly, digital technology, AI skills on digital transformation, the proper use of AI. We are bloody understaffed here in Europe on that. So, and also for remote working, that is a big opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. I have one more question. It says, how to approach for opportunities from India? I mean, where to start?
Where to start? Well, you can always reach out to Accountancy Europe for support for getting a let's call it soft landing. I would do that via the accounting and audit organizations. So if there are countries where you would be interested, then you go through the accounting organizations. From our side, it would be basically via you. If we have
Okay.
certain needs and certain spots, and I think we should be better in doing that. We are a global world, whether some think it isn't, we are. That for some, what I would call serious gaps we have in our employment skills, that we reach out to you and be able to give you an oversight of the profiles and type of professionals we're looking at and that we need. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Apart
let's stay
from
in touch.
this, yes, you have previously headed the PwC's global ESG platform and later the Global Reporting
Yeah.
Initiative. How critical is ESG and sustainability reporting for European businesses today?
Well, of course, we see there is a backlash, but that is temporary. Um, and I will tell you why, because in the end, capital markets will respond. And why are they responding? Because we see that large insurance companies and reinsurers are no longer covering costs out of damages of environmental related issues, floodings, fires, etc. So that means that some industries in some regions are no longer insurable or in real estate, which is either a default in lending and arrangement and agreements, or investors will just not step into a business and or an organization that is uninsured. So they want to see information that these environmental threats are being remedied by business, and therefore they need proper information. So in 2, 3 years, when the dust has settled and we see more risk, because to me, sustainability reporting is about long-term risk management. At one moment in time, it will hit your bottom line, whatever you politically may think about it. So it will be back, it will get back. Some businesses are less outspoken, but most of the European multinational have contingency plans around sustainability in their systems. So it's just a question of when will the pendulum swing back. We went too far, now it's going too far to the other side,
Again,
and as always in life, it will end in the middle.
good. How important is IFRS and international tax knowledge for professionals looking to contribute in the European market?
IFRS, International Accounting Standards, that is important. Tax knowledge, that depends because we're so fragmented. Tax knowledge, where in Europe there's always a shortage, indirect tax, but environmental taxes are getting more important.
Complex.
Tax accounting and tax reporting, the compliance side, but also in the annual report and annual accounts, IAS 12, FIN 48, that is then the US counterpart. That's always important. Being able to assess the risk, the tax risk profile for business. That's a good business to be in. I've been in that one myself, I admit.
I agree. I agree, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. We are grateful for your presence and for showing us how we as chartered accountants can make a very meaningful impact globally. Your insights were really very detailed. Thank you for staying with us. I would like to move on to my next speaker.
Thank you.
My next speaker is CA Narsimhan Elangovan yes, and I would take this opportunity to introduce him. He is a technology and risk enthusiast, a cybersecurity auditor, and a keynote speaker. His areas of practice include cybersecurity audits, SOC2, and IT attestations, auditing emerging technologies like AI, big data, and IoT. He's a faculty for DISA, CISA, and courses on blockchain technology. He has authored many books for ICAI, KS, CAA, etc. on technology. He's a regular speaker on technology at various national and international conferences of ICAI, ICACA, and CII, and FICI. He has often addressed ICACA international conferences at the Asia CACS, Europe CACS, the Africa CACS, North America CACS, and often among top-rated and the youngest speaker. Of it all, he is identified as the top 10 influential consulting leaders 2020, which is an annual recognition for torchbearers in consulting sphere by CEO Insights magazine. In 2023, he received the Cloud Risk Champion Award at India's largest cloud security conference hosted by Cloud Security Alliance Bangalore for his contribution and achievement in the field of cloud security and audit. We welcome you, sir. We are very glad to have such a great personality amongst us. I'm sure my speakers will await your insights. You can take over.
Thank you so much. A very good evening if you're joining from India. Good afternoon if you're joining from rest of the world, and probably good morning if you're from the the place where the sun is probably just come up. This topic which I'm going to speak today is some perspective of forensic accounting and investigation standards, right? And very specifically, I will give a flavor of digital or technology related trends. Okay, I'm going to keep it a little bit of a conversational. Of course, I understand there's a webinar where it's going to be a monologue, but I'm not going to have a presentation, but I'll be bringing in some perspectives. Now, let's talk about some trends which we are noticing in the global front, right? One of the most emerging areas which is coming up today is doing that bit of a post-mortem analysis. The audit which is performed is sometimes failing to serve the purpose. So many a times auditors or regulators are asking to come up with forensic related investigation. Now, typically, as all of you are aware, the whole objective of a forensic audit is to bring up an evidence in the court of law or maybe a authority or a statute, whatever it is, and give them some perspective saying that, hey, based on my assessment, here is the observations which I have done. And we all know that when we say the world of forensic, it is going to be a very different. And why do I use the word very different? For a very simple reason. The depth at which we have to go is significantly higher. We all know the very famous saying, right? The auditor is a watchdog, not a bloodhound. But sometimes he may have to change his colors when he does this sort of forensic investigation. So that's the very, very high level background. Now, coming from the standards, I'm sure the last few days you've been getting some visibility on these standards. But one thing which I wanted to make a mention is the increasing usage of technology as far as forensic audits are concerned. Now, I will categorize this as two. One is digital evidence forensics, right? And probably not go too much deeper into it because there the element of, how to identify the data, what are the components of data. There are a lot of nuances relating to that, right? And how the digital trail has to be preserved. How do you do a forensic analysis? Who sent an email, etc. That's one side of it. The other interesting side is the element of transactions which are performed through multiple layers. Element of transactions where there's round tipping of funds. Element of transactions where KYC or money laundering related offenses are taking place. So there's a lot of nuances around this which is coming up. And today it is impractical for you to do any of these identification without technology. Now, when I use the word technology, one can often say, hey, I have a Microsoft spreadsheet or a Excel or maybe a Google Sheet. Is that good enough? Maybe 5 years back, good enough. Some of them wrote proprietary algorithms. I have known some people who have written Python codes and try to bring up certain things. But the challenge today is people are going to some interesting mechanism like resolving into a chat GPT, right? The question is, how do you make sure that your entire forensic investigation journey, as far as digital and accounting and technology is concerned, you are keeping it up to date? So the simplest thing what you need to do is first and foremost, identify the type of data which you have. The moment you have this data, it could be Excel, it could be Word documents, whatever it is, right? It could be even emails, depending on situations to situations. I'll talk about some different perspectives. Now, if you've got this digital data, first and foremost is to ensure whether this data is complete or not. And how do you get a comfort over it? See how the software is programmed. Am I sure that, the front end and the back end are giving the same results? Am I 100% sure that these sum of the transactions is matching what is written over there, right? So you try to do a bunch of these checks to make sure that the data which you have obtained is absolutely fine. Once this is completed, the next step comes into what do I do with the data? 90% of us, we will start with what is called as an exploratory data analytics. And as a part of this exploratory data analytics, what you would do is you would try to pick up this data, try to understand the various elements out of it. And this is where today, where a lot of evidence I am seeing, which is coming up quite handy, is the usage of Microsoft Copilot. Microsoft Copilot is working out quite simple and giving you some interesting results on the data. And at the same time, the data is residing on your system only. Now, if you say, no, I cannot use Excel because there are some challenges, I need to use some sort of analytical tools. You can use the ideas and ACLs of the world, upload this and do some bit of number crunching. But in that case, the preliminary analysis which you do is called as descriptive statistics, giving you some data, giving some visibility. And mind you, all of these, the forensic standards have beautifully coined a standard called as a specialized standard, which is called as the the standard number 400 series, of which the standard number 410 talks about how you apply data analytics, right? So it talks about what is the source, how that source is confirmed, how you got this data, how you as an auditor validate this data. We spoke about this. And how are you making sure that the data integrity is consistent? I'll give simplest example. Many a times you get a document in a PDF format. You take a lot of time to convert that PDF format into Excel and Word. And while doing that, a lot of columns are merged. A lot of data is lost. Now, these all are questioning the integrity of the data. Once you do the bunch of all of these exercise, you actually make the data ready for testing. So this is typically the journey of how you gather the data. Source, acquire, validate it, check the integrity, and then you make the data prepare. Once this is done, you start doing what is called as an exploratory analytics, or popularly also you can call it as profiling of data. A simplest examples of profiling of data could be I'm trying to identify the date at which the transactions have taken place, the time at which transactions have taken place, holiday transactions, doing some sort of a Pareto analysis. You're trying to do that 80-20 ABC. So a lot of these profilings, you're trying to do that. And then you go to do what is called as data analysis. Now here you are going beyond profiling. You're establishing a relationship. A simplest example, if a payment is taken place to a vendor, is there a similar bank account number also there with an employee? Is there a correlation between the time at which the flight was booked versus the time or the duration or the location where the taxi was booked for reaching the airport, right? So these are a lot of correlation parameters are there. So these are typically analysis. And many a times, let me tell you, even graphical analysis helps you. For example, a time series data and a correlation is very useful from a forensic angle, which because it will give you over a point in time with different amounts, transactions, volumes, etc. It gives you interesting results. And by the way, let me tell you a short hack. This entire thing is possible in Microsoft Copilot or using this option called data analysis in Excel, right? I generally don't go beyond Excel because that itself has got so many tools. Now, if you say, no, I want to use some of these AI tools for these analysis, here is the prompt you need to write. Go to any of the AI solution and say, I am a forensic auditor. This is the type of data set I have. These are possibly my assertions, etc. Can you give me a detailed test plan? It'll give you a bunch of these. You wanted to make it better, go ahead and write. Establish which columns. In fact, you can take the data, take the columns, push that into a particular Excel and say, hey, these are the columnar data which I have. Why don't you help me do some basic analysis out of this? It'll give you a bunch of that. Now you can manually perform it. Or if you want to go to the next level, go to the same AI tool and say, hey, this is the data set I have. Why don't you give me a script, popularly called as a macro or a visual basic code, which I can run on this entire data set. It'll give you a code. It'll also give you the instructions to deploy the code. Copy that, paste it in your Excel, run the analysis. The basic version of your analysis is already done, right? Just for your information, there's a lot of material available online, which talks about forensic tests or data analytical test, which has to be performed on procurement data, on sales data, on fixed asset data, a lot of these things, right? So these are things which you can probably consider exploring. So once you have got all of this, very, very important from a forensic standard perspective is how do I preserve this data? Remember, data in its original form as well as summarized form should be preserved for the purposes of audit or for the purposes of future reference, because sometimes forensic audit reports are challenged in the court of law, right? I still know cases way back in different countries where cases as old as 1990, 1985 those cases, some investigation is still going on because there are a lot of round tipping of funds. There have been a lot of fraud which has taken place and a lot of circular movement of funds as such, right? So these are some things which you have to keep in mind. Now, one very interesting thing which the forensic standard defines is a concept called test of reproducibility, right? A very nice statement. What is this test of reproducibility? Let's take a very simple example on a jovial note. Let's say a scientist came up with an invention and he found this aha moment and he calls the entire world and says, hey, here is my invention. And he tries to demonstrate it. Oftentimes, it does not succeed, right? Now, this exactly is the concept of test of reproducibility. Can I rerun the entire process once again on the same set of data and prove to the external world, hey, whether it is the data which I have or you have, this is the steps I followed. Please do this. You should be able to get it. That is the test of reproducibility. Very important from an investigation preservance perspective. Now, let me also give you a caveat. I know a lot of people have started uploading data on AI and asking the AI to take decisions. Mind you, I'm sure you would have noticed the same data subsequent time you upload to AI, it gives you a different inference because AI, the way it is, especially the generative AI, the way it is configured, it learns every time and gives you something new, which means it is no longer deterministic, it is probabilistic. Therefore, it becomes an interesting challenge for you to identify whether the set of procedures and instructions I can follow as it is. That's a big question. So my suggestion in those cases is ask AI to give the logic and never ask it to do the calculation. This is a typical generative AI use case. Now, if you have written a machine learning algorithm, basically the systems have been developed where standardized code has already been written. Mind you, in those cases, it is reasonably deterministic and lesser probabilistic, right? So that sort of a variation or fluctuation, keep it to the bare minimum because that is where it will help you to actually justify. And the last, very important, the forensic standard also speak about what is called as data boundary. Now, data boundary is what data do you want and what data you don't want. Very important. You cannot take the entire data of the world. It is like saying that, I want to investigate a small issue which happened in probably one side of the ocean. And you are saying, hey, search for the entire 5 oceans of the world, figure out where this issue is. The answer is no. You need to pinpoint and figure out where exactly you are able to get this entire setup. I hope it's clear. And from a practice perspective, very important, before you start your analysis, please ensure you have a data analysis plan, which talks about what is the type of data, what is the objective, certain assumptions. You may have certain hypotheses. That is, you want to establish relationships between certain things. You may need to have that. Have the data prepared. How are you using it for preparation, the entire conversion cycle, the reporting cycle, preservation cycle, each and every one of this should be maintained. And do not forget the concept of chain of custody, right from the first step to the last step. Everything should be documented. So that's basically your forensic accounting investigation standard number 410, a quick summary, right? The second standard, which is again relevant from a technology perspective, because I specialize in the technology and the cyber world. The second thing which I wanted to make a mention is evidence gathering in the digital domain. Now, what is a digital domain? It is something which is very, very broad, right? It includes information systems, the cybersecurity space, the websites, those which are connected to the organization and which is not connected to the organization. So here, the digital evidence should be in electronic form, and bear in mind certain countries, like for example, in India, you have the Evidence Act. Similarly, in different countries, you have the Evidence Act or the equivalent, which talks about how digital trail or digital evidence has to be preserved. This also includes the chain of custody and what is admissible in the court of law. That is also something which you will have to make sure you are adhering to. Next, From a technology perspective, make sure the digital chain of custody is taken care. For example, the simplest thing is the primary data is kept as it is. The primary data is hashed in simple language is converting into an algorithm whereby it generates a unique result. And once this result is generated, the original data is replicated. The replicated data hash has to be generated. Both these hash have to be matched. If and only if it matches the replicated data, you can start perform your analysis, right? So this whole of these things have to be documented, right? And this is something which is very important. And many a times I have noticed professionals take help of external experts. And of course, there's a standard for external experts for this as well, right? And the last is your digital footprint, which talks about all the activities and transactions, communications, whatever you're doing on the digital domain to identify the user. This we call it as a digital footprint, right? It could be your audit logs, it could be a transaction, it could be even a CCTV footage, but of course that's more from a physical movement perspective, but it is more from a digital trail perspective, who has done what, right? And those logs give you a lot of interesting requirements. So that's basically what the entire digital evidence sequence is. And many a times you have to bear in mind, understand the legal requirement as far as digital evidence is concerned and what is accepted based on the particular law which is being enforced, right? So these are quickly two very important standards. I wanted to give you some perspective. Of course, there are a lot of tools and other things, but the summary is the forensic accounting and investigation standards make sure or focuses on standardizing some of these processes, making sure that investigation is reliable and has a bedrock foundation. And tomorrow, if somebody challenges in the court of law, hey, we have some supporting and we make sure that it is gone through a proper structure and process, right? So that's basically what I wanted to cover in the short 15-20 minutes. I'm happy if there are any questions. Otherwise, you can reach out to me. I am there in LinkedIn. Narasimhan Ilangovan is my name.
Thank you so much, sir, for bringing such a powerful blend of technology and accounting expertise to the table. Your insights clearly showed how the future of our profession lies at this intersection. Though I do not have questions from my audience, but I would like to ask you something. That is, do you think future chartered accountants need to be tech finance hybrids in order to stay relevant in the international market?
Very good question. So the way the world is evolving, especially in the last post-pandemic and post-chat GPT, I'll call it as two things, right? Post-pandemic, everybody started using technology.
Correct.
Post-chat GPT, everybody started using AI, right? So that's something which we have noted. And whether we like it or not, we're somehow using the AI for even very basic things to most complex things. So today, just like how probably in the 90s, when Microsoft Excel came, people thought, hey, what is this, right? And they eventually got hung to it. And today, a finance professional's world does not run without a spreadsheet. Of course, you can use Microsoft Excel, you can use an open office, but the concept is it has become a everyday usage tool, right? Likewise, technology awareness and AI adoption is something which has to go through across the ecosystem, and any finance professional for that matter, you will not have a way you can run away, but rather use that. And depending upon your depth of your expertise, you can either go deep into tech, start learning coding, Python and other things, or you can probably say that, hey, I will give the conceptual view. I know how it is done. Try to hire people to get this particular job done, right? So it's going to be a combination of that.
Correct. You have worked with AI, blockchain, IoT, big data. Which of these technologies do you think will have the biggest impact on accounting profession in the next 5 years?
Interesting. So I will talk about two things, right? Because the rest all of them are trying to support, right? The first thing which to me is going to change significantly is the concept of blockchain. Because the interesting thing in a blockchain is that transactions are entered into the system only after a predefined validation. So when you have a predefined validation, it's called as consensus algorithm in a technical parlance. So predefined validation, only if it is done, it goes into the system. Now the question is, do you really require to audit or verify all of these? The answer is no. right? Of course, you verify the system, technology controls, etc. But from a transactional perspective, you place reliance by virtue of the fact all of them have been signed, right? So that is something which is fundamental. But blockchain has its own challenges, right? It is not something which is not scaled significantly. So it's
Correct.
going to take some time. But while this technology was maturing, a huge hype around AI is coming into picture. And the precursor to AI is analytics on the data. So what is the gradual evolution is initially data was there. We have analyzed it. Now systems are auto-analyzing, and from that auto-analysis, inferences are drawn and you are able to give some summary results. And what is more important is when you give some sort of summary results, that is where the whole difference is actually, right? So AI tends to learn from that and become much more better. So your mundane jobs, repetitive jobs are either
Can be
getting
good.
automated or the basic amount of intelligence is already been done by AI, and then you're actually getting it done, right? So if those of you who have not tried it, I'll give you a couple of very simple things. Take a simple P&L statement or even a trial balance, right? Ignore the names. You can probably, if there are sensitive data, you can just sanitize this, upload this into any of the AI tools and write simple prompts saying that, hey, analyze this as a forensic auditor, analyze this as a risk advisor, analyze this as a consultant from a cost saving strategy perspective. And it'll come up with certain very interesting perspectives, which probably you may have, but I'm sure definitely your perspectives plus one perspective minimum, you will get it from this.
Absolutely. I agree. So the way you have been answering questions is really at the ground level, I must say. For somebody who's not from the IT background, it was still very easy for us to understand. From your own experience, what has been the biggest advantage of combining IT skills with CA qualification?
Oh, very interesting question. The biggest thing is what I have noticed. We have on one side the business domain knowledge,
Correct.
right? And that comes through our thought process of understanding business, our understanding of processes more than anything
Correct.
else, right? And at each of this, we always have what is called as professional skepticism running on the back of my mind, right? So that is why it is always said that, when you have a couple and in a couple, at least one of them is a CA, right? There are more questions from that one person than the other, right? Because you always tend to have that professional skepticism or questions, right? Jokes apart, but the fact that professional skepticism, when technology combined, we are able to ask questions better. So the biggest advantage when I understood by combining both of them is certain things which perhaps the technology world was not able to foresee, but we as risk auditors were able to foresee. But let me
Correct.
tell you, that comes only after sound understanding of technology. You cannot go to the Azure and AWS of the world and say, show me where your data server is. It will be hosted in some random country, right? So you will have to understand the fundamental of how these technologies work and add a layer of risk, add a layer of finance, add a layer of professional skepticism, risk, or forensic, whatever. I think it answers much better.
Yes, absolutely. Cybersecurity is a going concern worldwide. So, how can CAs position themselves as trusted advisors in areas like cyber audits and risk management?
Okay. So the whole of the cyber world, right, earlier was presumed it included only certain things like a vulnerability assessment, penetration
Correct.
testing, hacking systems. That was initially what the thought process was. But over a point in time, something interesting actually came up. That is, the cyber technology elements is just one layer of it. What is very, very important is the governance layer on top of it. For example, you can have the best of technologies put forward, but if your governance system is weak, the whole objective is defeated. A classical example is a user who fails to understand his requirement to safeguard the password is the biggest risk for an organization, right? Now you can have the best of the secure systems, but on the other side, there is a user who probably disregards security. So why this becomes very important is for you to get an idea that, hey, these are what drive the system. These are what is going to influence the entire ecosystem. And as cybersecurity auditors, we have a bigger role to play, and more important, starting from top to bottom, governance to security to probably vendor management, the entire ecosystem we are able to add value. And not to forget that there are regulators who are coming up saying that, hey, cyber audit is now mandatory. For example,
Well,
SEBI came up with a recent circular, right? Then you have, and by the way, I'm happy to say that the Securities Exchange Board of India is one of the first organizations in the entire world to come up with a cyber resilience framework for the entire ecosystem of security intermediaries. Of course, they've given some exemptions. I also understand sometimes it may be an overkill, but from a larger intention, I think it's something which is very good, right? So there are definitely opportunities like this which are coming up. I think we need to tap them and figure out what you can use it better. Last thing which I would suggest, if you're looking into cyber security opportunities, CERT, Cyber Emergency Response Team, recently came up with a very interesting publication on audit and audit guidelines. They talk about 10 to 15 different types of audit. Out of that, I think about 5 or 6 are technical. Rest 10 is something which a chartered accountant can do.
absolutely. I'm so grateful for you to share so many insights, and your journey was truly inspiring for all of us. How you moved on from being a CA to this IT world and being a conglomerate of both. Thank you so much for for bringing your knowledge on the table. We have with us our next speaker, CA Deepak Gupta, and I would like to take the opportunity to introduce him. Deepak sir has a 20 plus years experience. He's a certified public accountant, MBA from Indian School of Business, and a chartered accountant as well as a company secretary. He started his career in consulting, and he has served in multiple companies in leadership roles. He's running a management consultancy company in India for the last 6 years, which focuses on business and operation advisory, fundraise, setting up of global capability center for foreign companies. He has served 100 plus corporates across the globe on various finance, business, and operation areas. He started his career with consulting and working in EY and Deloitte in various telecom, IT, and ITE projects. So he has also worked in leadership roles in telecom and SaaS companies. He's the founder of AstraWise Business Solutions, which provides business advisory and execution services on finance, operations, capability, and merger acquisition transactions. He's a guest speaker in various government professional bodies as well. He actively writes articles on various finance and operational topics in national magazines and newsletter. I'm so glad that we have such a knowledgeable member amongst us. I will not take more time. I request you to take over the session, sir.
It's too much, too many things to digest, Shita man. Honestly, still I'm learning a lot of things that I need to learn. So, well, very good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending upon which geography our participants are attending. My apologies for a bit of a background noise. I'm in Los Angeles airport, boarding a flight to San Jose, and connecting from here. I really thanks to ICAI for giving me an opportunity to share my experience, and with my fellow friends, I can share that what are the opportunities exist in global capability center space. Well, I don't think so. Like earlier, around 6, 7 years, 8 years back, when I used to say GCC, the question comes: is it the Gulf Cooperation Society (GCC), which people think of as the Global Capability Center? And thanks for the industry leaders and think tanks. They came up with a new terminology, which we recently start using it in the coming years. We start using the term GVO, Global Value Organization. So I will just give you a brief 30-second overview that how the GCCs are came to what it is and what's the future plan is. That's what visible to us. So gone are the days around 3 decades back when these are coming as a back office. If I remember that it is called as a call center where thousands of young people are working and supporting the other geographies, largely developed geographies, and providing them the customer centric support, resolution of any of the customer issues, selling the products, so on and so forth. Then came the era of KPO, knowledge process outsourcing. If you remember, like 2 decades back, there are companies like Deloitte, Goldman Sachs, all those companies came up and set up large operations and with 50,000 to 1 lakh people. And there are many of the knowledge centers are based out of India. And then came shared service center, and now it is called as the global capability center. And there is a reason we use the word capability because here we are developing the capability to think about it. Like I believe most of our current participants are CA professionals or people who are CA and working in a corporate. So think about, like say a very simple capability of a build desk or AP role, right? So now what's happening in capability center is not about the different geography, but on the different function side, whatever the AP function is there, that entire capability sits out of 1, 2, or 3 centers. Right. Depending upon the requirement, it could be nearshore or offshore. For example, any of the European companies, the nearshore can be Poland. In case of offshore for US company, it can be India. That is completely equal difference. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, now what's happening that with the GCC, and I don't need to further emphasize on the importance of GCC to the parent organization. Indeed, it is a strategic step, and like millions and billions of dollars are invested by the companies to set it up, run it, wait for the right time to reap the right benefit out of it. Well, here the opportunities that it is bringing in, it's enormous. First, I will tell you from the number perspective. Last year was the first year, like I'm saying financial year 24-25, it's the first year that in the budget of 25-26, our finance minister came up, given us the number, the revenue number, and the percent of GDP contributed by GCC. It is close to $68 billion. So in number terms, no more on the quantity side, there are 1,900 plus companies having close to 3,500 plus centers across India who are providing capability center services across the globe. Again, like US is contributing more than close to 45 to 50%, then followed by Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and there are Middle Eastern companies also, like joining the foray and providing the services. Now, what's the opportunity? Opportunity is not only $68 billion, which is coming up. These numbers, as per the primary and secondary survey, we understood that this number will go up from $68 billion to close to $210 billion in next 6 to 8 years. And these 1,900 companies will be go anywhere between 5,000 to 6,000 companies. So we can clearly see the scope, and as we all know that as a chartered accountants, we are the backbone of Indian economy. So we are in the forefront in providing and making sure that the industry maneuver it responsibly, ethically, and sustainably in this journey. I'm really thankful to our institute, Sanjeev ji, and our team of GCC committee who are coming up with a bunch of events to make sure that this information is percolated to the last mile and make sure that we as a professionals provide the right services and whatever fees and other things, those are just a byproduct that will be always be there. Now, coming to the opportunity side, I will divide the discussion into three different opportunities which exist. First is for the CA communities who are doing the work in the GCC. It is very heartening to know that in GCC, close to 2 million plus people are working. Out of this, more than 15 to 18% people are from the CA background. So it is already employing close to 3.5 to 4 lakh people in the current GCC setup. So it's a large crowd. Second is opportunities for the professionals, like any of our friends who are running a CPA or running a CA firms. Bunch of opportunities are there. And third is the opportunities for the entrepreneurs or businessmen or startups who are creating the right ecosystem in the GCC environment so that GCCs can play comfortably and they can get the right services as and when they want. Now, coming to the opportunities for the GCC professionals, for the people who are on the job side of the GCC. So, till now, we have seen largely the tech capabilities are built up in India, where be it your product development, product maintenance, your IT infra support, or different QCs or UI UX, those kind of capabilities are built up in India. In order to support the companies, there are CAs who are working as a controller or as CFOs or in the finance function largely. But the way the work is moving up, there is a greater requirement of identifying and applying bringing in the right efficiency and effectiveness of the work in India. Along with that, I'm sure most of you might have heard of agentic AI, your RPAs, all those products being used in India. Now, earlier India was more acting as a supporting role for the global finance function, but I'm really happy to see that progress that in last 5 years or so, especially after COVID, you will see the entire global finance function is sitting out of India. So now it's not for the professionals, the CAs who are working in GCCs to just to work at an incremental level. They definitely need to build their expertise on the RPAs, on the agentic AI, how the tech works. It's not about you need to learn tech. It's about what's the input at a broader level, understanding the processing, and then making sure that the output is optimal. Optimal, I mean to say, it is what we are expecting out of it. So this requires a specific skill sets. Like C Institute has a bunch of programs coming up on the GCCs, and there are courses which are available where, on the basis of your use case, you can take up the program and learn the skill set. It's a largely the larger opportunities that are available on the job. Coming to the coming to the profession side. On the profession side, there's a huge opportunities. And I'm not talking only about your statutory part, your statutory audit, regulation, internal audits, payroll processing, so on and so forth. There are much larger opportunities available where you can help out in risk mitigation strategy for the companies, because when many of the techs are sitting out of India and work is happening over there, the entire finance function is sitting in India and we are processing the work. Along with that, when the larger data is being processed in India, we need to make sure that how to make sure your stock audit is done from India and supported for the global counterpart. Front end, many of the license and other audits that happens globally from India. Third, last but not least, making sure that how to provide value added services to the companies. Whenever any of the global companies come into India, there are three apprehensions. First, whether the people in India, the CA firm which are in India, they are providing the right services to the Indian counterpart and support the global firm, right? Second question comes that whether the complexity and the regular changing requirement that is happening at the parent level, it is understood at a GCC in India, and accordingly, this extension of it, whether the audit firm or CA firm which is providing the services, they are acknowledging the changes and understanding and adapting to the changes. Third, a very important part is understanding the tech piece, where if any of the tech tools which are implemented, whether our CPA firms understand it or not. So very important element for the CA firm is to make sure and be ahead of the race that what are the recent changes happening and how those techs are affecting the global company, as well as how what is the impact of it on the Indian counterpart. Extremely important. Third thing, which is more on the business side, which that's what we do, is more of helping out the companies in setting up the capability centers, making sure that the right processes are implemented. And third is when the everything is set up, the company is in BAU mode, making sure that the operation is run effectively. One very interesting change you will see in happening in last 1 decade is that gone are the days when Your GCCs are the play of big boys. Now it's not only Amazon, Google, or Alphabet, you call it, or Microsoft, or any of the large companies are having the 10,000 or 1 lakh seater of GCC. Though one thing holds true, close to 85% population of the GCCs are employed in 10% count of the GCCs in India. So this Pareto holds true, but still there are large opportunities available for medium and nano size GCC. When I'm saying nano size GCC, the companies can start with as low as 5 to 10 people. Recently, we had an event in Los Angeles, and it is organized by our ICAI Los Angeles chapter. A couple of very interesting questions came up. The first question came up is whether tech is the only function where we can set up the GCC. Answer is no, it's a misconception. So there can be a large amount of your sales, finance, HR, business operations in all the places wherever you need to you as a businessman we need to see as a we need to see whatever work that can be done outside office, it can be done outside the country. So there's a huge opportunity. Coming to the sales function, there are like pre-sales, KYC, post-sales support. All those things can happen in India. Come to business and operations side, be it your customer retention plan, be it any of the specific business process. Like I can give you example of one of the GCC I set up, where it's a fabrication company, where the architecture gives a diagram that it needs to be converted into 3D diagram, shop ready printouts are taken, and then construction, then it goes for manufacturing. Now, what we did is that we have taken this conversion of architect diagram into 3D conversion. That tech piece we have taken and we set up the GCC right in Bangalore. There are thousands of examples where companies with a size of say anywhere between $10 million to $200 million, they are setting up the nano GCC up to 10 to 50 people, or medium sized GCC anywhere between 60 to 200 people or 500 people. They are setting up their shop in India and they are reaping the right strategic benefit out of this investment. Another question which came to us is that what's the minimum size of GCC that company can start in US in India? The US company or global company can start in India. The answer is even 1 to 5 people a company can start a GCC in India. Only thing is that as a senior corporation, we need to make sure that the right value is coming and delivered to the parent company. I will take 5 more minutes to cover the crux of the GCC opportunities which are available to us. The first and foremost thing is that in order to serve the GCC market, we need to be ahead of the curve that what is coming to the company in the industry and to the company, be on the tech side or on the process side, making sure that there are right regulations and compliances which we are meeting, be it GDPR or India's DPDP Act. We need to make sure that those are met properly, and especially when we are saying about nano and medium-sized GCC, um, you can think of we know the challenges, the challenges that our SME face in India, small and medium sector enterprises face in India. You can think of the same challenges faced by the global companies. They are no different. But now, assuming that they know everything and they will tell us what needs to be done, no, it is not true. We need to understand the company, we need to understand the industry, geography, political, and regulatory environment of the country, of the company, and then we need to guide them accordingly. Another question which I normally face, and early event was no different, where some of the professors who joined us from the India chapter, they asked that, okay, how can we get the client? Very good question, but it's a fundamental question. And my answer always in this situation is that we cannot get the clients sitting in India. If you want to capture Australia market or US market, we need to go to that market. Again, going there is not sufficient. Before going there, bunch of preparation you need to make. You need to have certain database. You need to have a list of companies. You need to approach them, mention that, okay, like you have the capability, you can provide the services, and then take the appointment and go there, meet 5, 10, 15, 20 companies. Question is that how you can have that database? Very simple. We have a brilliant tool given by our tech companies, that is LinkedIn. Again, there are other tools. Lucia is there. Then there are a couple of I'm not going in details, Shika. I'm more than happy to connect with our friends offline. You can share my contact coordinates, my email ID. So we can discuss in detail about what are the different, I will not say lead generation tools, but it is more of a database you can look into and keep on reaching out to them, showing your capabilities, and then having an appointment, have a video call, convince them, bridge the cross the trust bridge, and then start asking for the work. I'm sure it will come. The second possibility could be possible for the existing GCC. There are existing GCCs. Close to 4,000 centers are there. So we can develop the right connect with those GCCs and can ask for the work. And here I will say there's a difference between our larger way the CA practice comes and the way GCC operates. In case of a CA practice, we are more look for the volume. Like you can take any of the CA firms, and they are serving 200, 300 companies or 2,000, 5,000 individuals in filing returns, the regulatory part, payroll part, statutory audit, whatever it is. But in GCC, it's a bit different role play. Here, you don't need to look for the volume. You need to look for the depth that the services we can provide in the GCC. Again, it is my experience of last 6 years. Would love to hear if there are any difference in opinion. But here in GCC, the depth works better because if you're providing this depth work or in-depth work to any of the GCC, your billing will be conducive to if you're providing services to 100 companies. So here I will take a pause to I have 5 more minutes to take any of the questions our participant has. More than happy to answer.
Thank you, sir. We have not received any questions from our participants, but from my end, of course, I would love to thank you for the extensive knowledge, and your topics were very complex, but yes, you connected with all of us in a very easy manner. I must say you broke down in such a manner that we know what we must do in order to be a part of this global community. So we are really happy to have you, and we thank you for giving us so much time despite the fact that you are traveling. It was really very nice to hear you and have your insights with all of us. We look forward to reading more of your articles and getting more of your knowledge soon. Thank you so much. Sir, you are on mute. You are on mute. Yes.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Actually, there are a lot of announcements happening. I don't want to be a nuisance on the sound side. So thanks a lot, Shikaji. Really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to coming on this forum and sharing my experience. More than happy to connect other participants and friends here. So thank you for calling me
Thank you so
and
much.
spending time with me. Thank you. Bye. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Surely.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, sir. So as we conclude today's discussions, one thing becomes very clear. Europe is not just a land of opportunities, but it's also a land of collaboration and continuous learnings. For chartered accountants, whether it is through regulatory expertise, strategic advisory, forensic insights, cyber security, global capability centers like Deepak sir pointed out, the opportunities are both deep and wide. On behalf of ICAI, I extend my gratitude to all our esteemed speakers for sharing their invaluable perspective, and to my audience for your engagement and for the kind of questions you have posed. I am sure we will carry today's insights forward as a motivation to think global, act professional, and truly make our mark in the Europe's evolving landscape. Thank you so much. This is CA Shikha Bhagat from Ahmedabad. I'm signing off. Thank you so much.